You're my best friend. This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
For my friends.
77 WABC.
Democratic calls for President Biden to drop out of the race stretch from Capitol Hill to Hollywood. The word blockbuster is normally used to describe a box office hit, but one of the biggest movie stars, George Clooney, dropped a political blockbuster in the form of a New York Times editorial, writing, though, that even though he is a lifelong Democrat and loves Joe Biden, quote, our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw, referring to the debate. And those party leaders are now under pressure from their own members to deliver a message to the president. All of this is clouding the NATO summit of world leaders, where the big news is that the first F-16 fighter jets are on their way to Ukraine to fend off Russian forces. We have team coverage tonight. CBS's Ed O'Keefe is at the White House, and we begin with CBS's Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill.
The political ground is wobbling beneath President Biden, one of the biggest tremors from one of America's biggest stars. Weeks after appearing side by side at a fundraiser, actor George Clooney split with the president. Writing in a blistering editorial for the New York Times, I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. Adding, when he saw the president 3 weeks ago, he wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. CBS News has learned House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, who's been hearing complaints from many in his caucus, says he'll share those concerns with the president himself by Friday. CBS News has confirmed Senate Democrats have scheduled a closed-door meeting with the president's campaign team.
I think that we could lose the whole thing, and it's staggering to me.
Two senior Democrats tell CBS News the Biden campaign could face financial problems. With concerns about the president's health and wavering Democratic support, campaign donations could dry up in a race that could cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Nora.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much for your reporting. It is hard to overstate how critical this week is for the president's reelection campaign. So let's bring in CBS's Ed O'Keefe. And Ed, it seems like each day brings more troubling signs for the Biden campaign. What are your sources telling you?
Well, Nora, as a senior campaign official put it to me, quote, there's no question this is the toughest moment we've had of this campaign. And here's why George Clooney's opinion matters. You might be thinking, why do I care? Well, look, he's someone who spent personal time with the president just over 3 weeks ago and noticed his decline, having met with him several times in years past. So he's a well-known character witness for many voters concerned about President Biden's age. As for Nancy Pelosi's strong suggestion that Biden rethink his future, that's signaling that she's hearing real concern from fellow congressional Democrats, big party donors, and other party leaders. And it also gives others an opening to speak up. And she's one of the few party leaders the president listens to regularly and whose opinion he values.
And Ed, a big test for the president. His first solo press conference in nearly 8 months. What's at stake?
Oh, Nora, another big moment that all of Washington and skeptical voters nationwide will be watching closely. They want to see how he does in his next big unscripted moment, where he'll once again take numerous questions and be forced to think on his feet. If he handles it well, that could hold off more detractors. If he doesn't, the floodgates might open.
Went back and looked at all the polling. If you smash them together the last 20 years, we wanted to figure out who had a general lead on the July 4th weekend. Okay, this is what we found. Going back to 2004, it was John Kerry with a 2-point lead over George Bush. 2008, Barack Obama 4 points over John McCain. 4 years later, again, Obama 2.5 points over Mitt Romney. In 2016, Trump trailed Hillary Clinton by 4.7 percentage points. But in 2020, Joe Biden had an easy lead in the polling over Donald Trump. In the throes of COVID we were in that summer, and the aftermath of George Floyd, Joe Biden had a 9-point lead. Right now, it's the first time in 20 years that a Republican after the 4th of July has had a lead in the polling. Trump with that advantage right now, 3.3 percentage points. Let's cruise on back over here. I'll say hi to my partner over this, and we'll see whether or not that polling stands up or whether or not it shifts a little bit.
It's so interesting because you kind of have two incumbents running against each other right now. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, the polling, it'll be interesting. It's interesting to compare. But this does feel like a very different.
I would also add that, typically after a convention, you get a bump.
A little bump.
I imagine the Republicans will get a bump at the end of next week after Milwaukee.
Alec Baldwin was in a New Mexico courtroom as testimony got underway in his involuntary manslaughter trial over the deadly shooting on the set of his Western movie, Rust. Baldwin's attorney says he was just an actor acting, when the gun went off, while prosecutors suggest Baldwin acted recklessly. CBS's Elise Preston is at the courthouse in Santa Fe.
He pointed the gun at another human being.
High drama as prosecutors laid out their case against actor Alec Baldwin.
The evidence will show that someone who played make-believe with a real gun and violated the cardinal rules of firearm safety is the defendant, Alexander Baldwin.
Baldwin listened intently, taking notes as his family looked on during opening statements.
It was just a prop. The gun has to be safe before it gets into the actor's hands.
Movie set safety rules require actors, like the defendant, to never point a firearm at another person.
No one had any idea that this venomous, toxic element had been inserted into this magic they were creating. But it did, and it changed lives forever.
Jurors saw video from the crucial moments after cinematographer Helena Hutchins was gravely wounded.
Can you open your eyes for me?
Baldwin has maintained his innocence, saying he never pulled the trigger. His defense attorney put all the blame on those in charge of firearms on the film set, using the one phrase that could become crucial to this case.
The prop gun was placed in Mr. Baldwin's hands, and cold gun was announced.
When you hear the words cold gun as an actor, it's not only that you don't expect a live round, but you expect no round.
You have to remember, with men's Olympic basketball, forever, since the Dream Team, it's been a friendship retreat. And I think the friendship retreat this year is going to be all about LeBron and Steph. They have never been on a team like this together, and LeBron is dying to be friends with Steph Curry. Like, dying. You could see it. And this, by the way, the friendships go all the way back to the Dream Team. I want to say it was Bird and Ewing, correct me if I'm wrong on that became really good friends as a result of that. Miami's Big Three was built out of all these guys being on the Olympics together. So LeBron's playing point guard for them. I think he's going to do everything in his power to prop Steph Curry up. I think that's what we're going to see this Olympic. But now, 92-92, fourth quarter, who gets the ball? I actually think it's going to be Ant. But I think LeBron and Steph is going to be a big theme in this Olympics, that their friendship is going to hit another level. And then we're going to have all the conversations. LeBron has a no trade, but a 15% trade kicker. Did you hear what I said? He has a no trade, but a 15% trade kicker, which means, yeah, go ahead, trade me somewhere else, but I'm picking the place and I'm going to make more money as a result of it. Mm-hmm. That Warriors LeBron thing I bet you it starts up again at some point this year because of the friendship that these two guys are now going to have over the Olympics.
Guy the other way, long run for Rosarena toward the line, and that's a fair ball off the wall. Volpe rounding third. They're sending him home. He'll score without a throw. It's an RBI double for Grisham, and the Yankees are on the board. They lead 1-0.
Well, the batting average not elevated for Grisham, but he has plenty of power to all fields. As Anthony Volpe, the play is right in front of him. He's reading this all the way. You don't need your third base coach. And with his speed, he's going to score easily from first.
Driven into right center field on the run is Grisham, and he makes the play. Oh, did he cover a lot of ground and just save the Yankees bacon.
Last chance for the Rays, a guy that maybe has had the most frustrating night of them all, Josh Lowe.
Swing and a miss, and the Yankees win 2-1, a much-needed victory, and they even it up at a game apiece.
Now Nimmo, Brandon is actually hitting for a higher average this year against lefties than he is against righties.
And he drives this one out to right center field. Thomas takes a look, and it's out of here. For the first time in his career, Brandon Nimmo has homered in 3 consecutive games. And he gives the Mets the early lead, 1-0.
Boy, everything that's in the strike zone, he is tattooing.
Number 16 for Nimmo, 9 in his last 23 games. And the Mets have the bases loaded and nobody out, and Iglesias coming up.
Iglesias bangs one up the middle and base hit. Alonso is in. Here comes Vientos. The throw by Young to the plate is cut off. They've got the runner Alvarez between second and third. Iglesias advancing. Vargas makes the tag. Iglesias gets the second. Did they tag Alvarez? They did. As they continue the play, 2-run score, and the Mets take a 4-2 lead.
2 out, nobody on. Jacob Young, last chance for Washington.
Ground ball. Nice grab by Iglesias. The throw across the diamond, and the ball game is over. Jose Butto gets the final 4 outs for his first major league save. Luis Severino goes 6 1/3 for the win. Iglesias with the big hit to put the Mets in front. And the Mets have taken 2 straight from the Nats to move back over 500, winning tonight 6-2.
But before I know what it feels like, where do I go? If you never try, then you'll never know. How long do I have to climb up on the side of this mountain of mine?
Coldplay, 6:15 on your Thursday morning. A lot going on, obviously. Joe Biden taking it from all ends now. You got politicians every day that want him out, even Chuck Schumer. He's starting to say, well, maybe he should leave. Illinois governor, get out. Hollywood, George Clooney, get out. You heard from Hemmer there, too, on Fox News. This is the first time in 20 years now that a Republican candidate is winning in the polls right after July the 4th. Donald Trump, who was not winning the last 2 times he ran against Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. So all signs very bad for Joe Biden right now, and very good for Donald Trump. He got a ton of guests to get to today that will talk more about that, including John Turley, Brian Kilmeade, Bill O'Reilly. Going to be a fantastic show. Alec Baldwin is in a courtroom in New Mexico. The Team USA basketball team, which is really one of the few sports I care about in the Summer Olympics, getting all the way back to that great dream team. Man, I love that team. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Bird, all of them. This is a damn good team we've got this year. And they had, I guess, an exhibition game, if you will, taking on Team Canada in Las Vegas yesterday. And after a slow start, they still won by 14, Team USA. But you heard Evan Cohen on ESPN talking about this budding relationship between Golden State Warriors superstar Steph Curry and Lakers superstar LeBron James. Yankees and Mets both win. But the reason why I started with Coldplay today is I got to go to Milwaukee next week, and then I'm going to Florida not long after that. So I'm going to miss 3 of these shows in early August. So my hearing aids, people still say, you wear hearing aids? Yeah, I do. And I have for years. And they're great. Leslie Slender came to me one day a couple of years ago because she heard me bitching every day, can't hear anything. And she found this unbelievable company, and they make the best hearing aids in the world. They're the best. And I go to New York Hearing Associates. I think that's what it's called. And I've got this great doctor, Shelley Borgia. She's terrific. And about every 6 to 8 weeks, she replaces my hearing aids, which are stuck way inside my ear canal. You can't see them. And, I'm one of those guys who cares about how I look, obviously. So I don't want no, big hearing aid sticking out of my ear. So you don't see these. These are really state-of-the-art. But now it's been 8 weeks, and that's a bit long. So there have been times, if you listen to this show, the last couple of years, where I'll come into work and literally one of my ears will be deaf. Can't hear anything, nothing, because the hearing aid dies. They're usually good for about 6 weeks. 8 weeks is iffy. And after that, you may lose hearing in both. Who knows? So I'm going on the road. I can't be in Milwaukee or Florida and not have these things working. So I got to get them replaced today. So it turns out my doctor, Shelley Borgia, she's in Rome today. And she went to see last night in Roma Coldplay. So I said, Lou, we got to play Coldplay today because Dr. Shelley Borgia is listening right now live in Rome. And she saw Coldplay last night. I've seen Coldplay in concert, too, and she loved them. So there you go, Shelley.
Unfortunately, Sid couldn't hear them when he saw them. So.
Back then I was okay. I didn't have hearing aids yet. Believe it or not, Louis, that was the Tuesday before my last show with Imus. Tuesday night, I went to see Coldplay with Danielle, and a couple of days later was the Atlantic City trip, and I was kicked off the Imus show for not coming back for the Giants pregame show.
Okay,
something like that. I don't know.
Shelley's, he needs something powerful. Whatever's going on, he needs something more powerful even.
No, it's working great.
Okay.
These are great.
It's great.
It is great. In fact, my ears are so good that I heard Noam do his award-winning 5 to 6 a.m. show today. And one of the stories he did really caught my attention. Don't forget, I'm on 3 different subway platforms every day. Every day. 51st Street on the east side, 42nd Street on the east side, and Wall Street every day. That includes the 6 train, which you mentioned earlier, Noam, as one of the worst ones, on 51st Street, and then I grab the Express, the 4 or the 5 at 42nd Street, take that to Wall Street, and then I've got this 7-block walk down Wall Street past the Stock Exchange and Cava and the Wall Street Hotel to get to the ferry. So that's 3 subway platforms every day. And for me, the one that is absolutely unbearable is right here, 51st Street. The 6 train on 51st and Lex. It feels like 150 degrees. The worst.
And it may be close to that. The one that these riders, there's this Instagram website. It's pretty popular among subway riders. It's called Subway Creatures. And everybody was weighing in on which was the hottest platform of all the subway platforms. And a lot of them picked this Union Square 4, 5, and 6 platform.
Well, yeah.
And yesterday...
actually, I'm getting off that stop today because the hearing aid place, the doctor today, usually go to 40th and 5th. Today it's on 14th and 8th. But I will say this, when you get to 14th Street or 34th Street, part of the reason why those platforms and those subway stations are so hot, you're going to laugh, but it's true, is the amount of people. The body heat, even in the summer, adds to all that. And those platforms are packed. There are days I get off at 42nd Street from 51st Street. They go 3-4 back.
Yeah. Well, that one registered at 98 degrees yesterday, the 14th Street Union Square platform. 98 degrees waiting for a train to come in.
I know. I'm wearing a sport jacket today. So when when the train finally arrives, and if it's 2 minutes away, it's okay. But there are days I've got to wait 8 minutes, for example, and I am soaking wet. Now, the good news is, for me, I'm going home. So I take off the jacket on the ferry. But for somebody who's going for lunch or going to a business meeting, you got to get back to work. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It is insane. So there are a couple that have fans, but fans don't do anything. They don't work.
They just blows around hot air.
But the that new one, the Hudson Yards one at 34th Street, there's some sort of cooling system there, but of course nobody uses that subway station.
No.
And I did not know this, and I have not checked this out myself, but apparently Grand Central Lexington, the 63rd Street stop, apparently that one is cool. But otherwise, every other one
Grand Central is not
degrees.
very cool, I can tell you that. No. I mean, thank God the trains are cool. I mean, I got to tell you how many summers I was on a hot platform, get on the train, and the AC wasn't working. That has not happened to me once, not once so far this summer. So thank God the AC on the trains is actually working. But the platform stay, that could be brutal. All right, big show coming up. We'll go live to Israel coming up at 6:45. My buddy, JNS.org, Alex Traiman. And I want to know from Alex, are they talking about the possibility of Joe Biden stepping down in Israel? Because, of course, the United States government plays a large role in the daily life in Israel. Are they talking Joe Biden like we are every day in Jerusalem as well? We're going to find out. Jonathan Turley, the great Curtis Sliwa, Brian Kilmeade, Bill O'Reilly, and Michael Goodwin. A big guest list coming up on this Thursday morning. Sid and Friends in the morning. And we'll be back right after this.
Entertaining and informative. This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
We have some great people, as they say, a deep bench. But Marco was great last night, very popular. And he's certainly one of the people that we're looking at out, over the next week or so, I'll announce. I'd love to do it during the convention. In the old days, they did it during the convention, and it kept the convention very exciting, actually. So we'll see about that. But pretty soon we'll be announcing. But we have some great people. As you know all of them.
Right. You got J.D. Vance, who's with Governor Burgum in North Dakota. And then you have Tim Scott. Those are the four finalists. Should I expand that at all if I'm thinking comprehensively about what's on your mind?
Well, you could. I think I'm pretty well set in my own mind. But, you got some good people. And I have changed a little bit. But they're all great. Anyone would be fantastic. Anyone would be a lot better than laughing Kamala. She's terrible.
Of distant signs, you pour yourself over me like the sun through the blinds. You lift me up and get me out, keep me walking but never shout. Hold the secret close, I hear you say. You know the way it goes about. It takes you in and spits you out. It spits you out when you desire.
I love this song. This is, that Lou Rufino's listening to First Wave. So am I, or the good old days of DRE and what was the other one?
LIR.
LIR. Is there a birthday here with this gentleman?
Yeah, we got Peter Murphy. I wasn't even going to mention
Peter Murphy. Well, I love this song. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And that was Donald Trump talking about his potential running mate with my guy Brian Kilmeade yesterday. Brian will join me coming up this morning at 8:15. I got a message from Sal Greco. And a lot of you folks know who he is. A lot of you don't. He's been on the show a couple of times. He's a former NYPD cop. who was treated very unfairly. And he wakes up every day hating Eric Adams and everything to do with New York, basically. Everything. And he must send me 2 or 3 stories a day to post. Many of them I don't post because, hey, I'll say it. I'm friendly with the commissioner, Eddie Caban. I'm friendly with Transit Chief Michael Kemper. I'm friendly with Chief of Patrol John Schell. I'm friendly with Cash Daughtry. So I love Sal, and I think he was treated unfairly, but I'm not going to start posting stuff every day that kills these guys, you know. But he sent me something yesterday, how more people should be talking about the death of Edgar Ordonez. I know you know this story, Noam Layden. Give me the latest.
This is an awful story. So yesterday, Edgar Ordonez was a police recruit who was set to graduate from the police academy on Monday, and he was involved in what they call, I think it's called an aggression exercise, some sort of exercise that tests how you perform in certain situations.
So this is, you know, we just had a discussion last segment about how hot it gets on the subway platform. Yeah. This aggression exercise takes place outside in the heat, yes?
It does, in full uniform. And he collapsed during that. And unfortunately, they rushed him to Jacoby Hospital. He passed away, 33 years old. I mean, it's awful. I mean, just days away from graduation. Monday is the police recruit graduation.
So are a lot of people, again, Greco's got a bone to pick, but are there a lot of people criticizing the NYPD? It's kind of like years and years ago, I remember the Minnesota Vikings had a Pro Bowl offensive lineman. His name was Corey Stringer. Very good player. The guy was huge, and he collapsed and died during training camp because even in Minnesota, it's 85 degrees in July. So you got a big, heavy guy, you know, doing rigorous activities in the heat, and he died. And I don't think the Minnesota Vikings have changed a lot of stuff. They did change some things based upon that. I guess they have, you know, maybe 2-a-days now or less time in the heat. But I'm just curious, is the NYPD coming under a lot of fire for this?
Not yet. I mean, I should point out.
I'm not sure if they should they?
Well, I should point out, I don't know whether he was outside or inside when this actually happened at about 11:30 yesterday. That information I don't have.
Curtis will know that.
He may. And police say that they think either he suffered a heart attack or some sort of heat stroke.
Yeah.
So maybe the exercise was outside. Either way, he was finishing up his firearms testing ahead of graduation. That's what was happening at the time.
God rest his soul. So are you interested at all, Lou and Noam, in these Summer Olympics? I very rarely am. In fact, I think I have to date myself all the way back to Lionel Richie singing the national anthem and Mary Lou Retton. God, what's happened to her? She may have died, in fact. I don't even know, but she's at the very least, she's very sick. All the way back to 1980 Los Angeles, to really care about a Summer Olympics. And I watched a lot of the swimming over the years with people like Michael Phelps, some of the track and field. But I've always liked the basketball, dating back to the original Dream Team. Ewing, Barkley, Mullen, Jordan, Magic, all those guys. And I am intrigued by this group of NBA players. 12 of them, bunch of them Hall of Famers. LeBron, Steph Curry. You got a guy right now that may be the best player in the league, Anthony Edwards from Minnesota. He led the team in scoring yesterday when they beat Team Canada in Las Vegas with 13. So, yes, I'm a bit intrigued. I will watch the Americans play basketball. Now, the Olympics start, I believe, Friday, July the 26th. But the men's team plays their first game Sunday, July the 28th against Serbia. Do you care, Noam?
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, the basketball I like watching, and they do have real competition. I think the French are mounting a pretty good team.
I mean, the French, let's not forget, we're only 2 weeks removed from the NBA draft. 4 Frenchmen went in the first round.
That's right.
4. And you've also got, yes, the French are exactly right. They are a good team. Forget the other team that always does a pretty decent job. One of those, it's Slovakia, Croatia, Serbia,
yeah,
one of those.
It's one of the Slavic
I don't know
countries.
where Luka Doncic plays, for example. But
yeah, who does he play for?
Slovakia, I think.
Yes, maybe that's the team.
Something like that. The one thing that did confuse me was we've got a really good big man on the team, one of 2 Philadelphia 76ers, and that is Joel Embiid. But as far as I know, Embiid is not American. Do you know the answer to that, either one of you?
What is he
from?
I don't know. Maybe he's a citizen now, but he's not from here. He was born someplace else.
Africa, something like that? Can't remember.
Cameroon?
I think so. Something like that, yeah.
Born.
I don't know.
Yawande, Cameroon.
There you go.
Yes. That was going to be my third guess. Probably where it was.
Does Cameroon have a basketball team?
I'm sure they do. Yes. I believe, actually, he's the only 76er. There are 2 Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. There are now 2 Boston Celtics because Kawhi Leonard quit yesterday. So you've got, of course, Jason Tatum and Derek White.
Why
did he
quit?
He didn't want to play. I get tired. I don't know. Who knows? He doesn't care.
He's a weird guy.
He's a weird guy.
He gets injured.
He just leaves.
One of the great players, too. But he's weird.
You've got 3 Celtics. Drew Holiday is out there, too. And you've got a couple Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis, who had a double-double in the win over Canada yesterday. So you do care. What about you, Lou?
I didn't even remember that they were on this year.
I love it, baby.
No, I really didn't.
You are a real patriot.
I didn't know. The basketball stuff played in the Open. I had no idea what. Yeah. But I forgot that they played Canada.
Yeah, but that was an exhibition game. You haven't missed anything yet.
Okay, so I can still get on board.
Yes.
I am so excited.
I want you to sit there that Sunday, July 28th against Serbia, wearing your, what's your favorite basketball player ever?
Oh, I'm going to wear a Cameroon jersey. There's no question about that now. Are you kidding? No,
I love it.
Yeah, forget it.
And here's some more good news for you, folks. If you're a football fan, the Mets and Yankees both won yesterday. But if you're a football fan, training camp for both the Jets and the Giants, less than 2 weeks away.
Oh, my God.
I actually spoke to your friend and mine, the great Pat Hanlon, yesterday.
I love Pat Hanlon. I love Pat Hanlon. Yes, of course. It's hard not to love him.
So last year, the Giants had me out there one day at training camp. You remember, Lou, I sat down, interviewed a bunch of Giant players, including the guy that retired, the guy Waller, the tight end. So I said to Pat yesterday, I said, look, let's do it again this year. He said, of course, anytime Sid wants to go to Giants practice, Sid's going to be there. I said, but do me a favor this year. Give me the coach. Give me Daniel Jones. Stop giving me guys like Paris Campbell. Are you nuts? It reminded me of the days at the Fan. You know, Mike and the Mad Dog used to get Bobby Valentine, Mike Piazza, all the best. They would get Joe Torre and Derek Jeter. But the midday show, whether it was me and Jody or me and Joe Beningo, Jay Horace would go, we have Joe McEwing for you. Joe McEwing.
I knew. Just Super Joe.
Swear to God. We got Joe McEwing or Steve Traxel almost every day. They're getting Torre and Piazza. We're getting McEwing and Traxel.
You can't, he won't do that. He's not going to do that. You take the ACAM, he's fine. It's all fine. It's fine. You know, you'll be good. Don't ask him about, don't get no drinks, nothing like that. Just get away. No. Mary Lou Retton is still doing okay, by the way.
She's okay?
Yeah, but she's got scarred lungs.
She almost died. You know, she's got like a GoFundMe page.
Yeah, she had a rare form of pneumonia, the doctors were calling it.
Yeah,
but they still don't know what started it.
Poor Mary.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. I did like a lot of those girls. Remember the one with the really, really high, annoying voice? She ended up on Beverly Hills 90210. Strug. Kerry Strug.
Oh, Kerry Strug.
Remember her? Strug,
yes. Strug. Strug.
And then there was, who was the one that sued her parents? She was great. Nadia was at, not Kilmeade, I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't know.
No,
these gymnasts are psychos because, you know, a lot of them, and it's not their fault, God bless these poor young girls, a lot of those kids, they get, molested by these sick coaches all the time.
The sick ones,
They're sick bastards.
Oh, you see them stalking around the platform? Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's almost like they're running like a Third Reich.
Horrible.
It's crazy.
Some of these girls, God bless them. And then the guys, I'm going to say this, at the risk of sounding like a fiery homosexual. Fiery. I mean, way past anybody you know. Nobody has a better body than the best male gymnast. That guy, Mitch Gaylord, a couple of years ago, one drink, I'm in.
That's it?
Just one, huh?
One.
Wow.
That's it.
Bucky Dent's a little jealous.
Oh, I love Bucky. You know what's funny about Bucky Dent? He was on yesterday. The city was split between the Mets and the Yankees, although back then it was the Yankees. Yankees kept winning. The Mets were horrible. The Mets had their day in the sun about a decade later in the mid-'80s when they won the World Series. But there were two guys who were deemed great looking. The Yankees had Bucky Dent. The Mets had a very young Lee Mazzilli. And the girls would fight over that.
Jerseys were all over those.
Those
stadiums.
two, forget about it.
Mazzilli jerseys,
all of them.
Forget it.
We're going to go live to Israel. Talk to Alex Traiman. We're talking every second about Joe Biden here, and I don't even care about all these people that don't like him. I don't care. I don't care about George Clooney. I don't care about Mike Pence. I don't care about the governor of Illinois. I don't even care about Pelosi or Schumer. It's kind of like this. Wake me up when we find out for sure if he's staying or going. I don't care. I'm going to Milwaukee next week to support my guy Donald Trump. The Democrat Party sucks. They suck on a city level. They suck on a state level. They certainly suck on a federal level. They are a really crappy party. They've destroyed almost every beautiful city in this country. I don't care. So we'll talk to Alex Traiman in Israel and find out if they care. Because we know this son of a bitch, Joe Biden, he stabbed Israel in the back about 90 times since October the 7th. So are they talking in Israel about the possibility of Biden leaving like we are here? We're going to find out. Traffic coming up next with Joe Nolan. But right now it's time for the 77 WABC minicast clip of the day. Get the whole story in under 10 New York minutes. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and get the max out of Mini. As always, it's from Katz and Cosby, my guy John Catsimatidis, 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon. Here, John and Rita they talk about Donald Trump with KT McFarland.
In January, Donald Trump is likely to be the next president. And we know he's pro-Israel. We know he's anti-Iran. He'll reinforce the sanctions. He'll drive the price of oil down to $40 a barrel like it was before. The United States will be energy dominant. That bankrupts Russia. That bankrupts Iran. And China is one of the most energy-needy countries in the world. So it gives us enormous leverage over China. They all got to cut their deal now because starting in January, the tough guy, the sheriff's back in town.
This is Sid on Sports.
Oh, my goodness!
Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellicker with your bottom of the hour sports update, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com, paviliontankless.com. Find a dealer near you. They are the world's best built boilers. On the diamond out in Queens, Jose Iglesias had 3 more hits, including a 2-run single that snapped a 6th-inning tie and vaulted the Mets over the Washington Nationals 6-2 last night. Nimmo homered for a career-best 3rd straight game, and Vientos hit a tying double as the Mets, now game over 500, won for the 10th time in their last 12 at home to pull within a half game of San Diego for the final NL wildcard spot. Luis Severino pitched effectively into the 7th inning, and a struggling bullpen came through with 3 relievers combining to allow 1 hit and 2 2/3 scoreless innings. Severino gave up 2 runs in 6 1/3 innings of work. Jose Butto, a converted starter, making his 5th big league relief appearance, I should say. Retired all 4 batters he faced, striking out 2 for his first career save. Butto became the 8th Mets pitcher to earn a save this season. 34-year-old Iglesias, who spent last season in the minors, is hitting .526 with runners in scoring position. He's batting .338 overall with 14 RBI since being called up in early June. Vientos tied it 2-2 with a double off the base of the right field wall in the 6th. Iglesias gave New York a 4-2 lead and scored its final run of the inning on a throwing error by second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. And Tyrone Taylor drove in another run with his second 8th inning triple in 2 nights. Up next, the 3-game series concludes this afternoon when Mets lefty David Peterson opposes Washington lefty Mackenzie Gore. First pitch from Citi Field, where lefties are wild, is scheduled for 1:10 p.m. As for the Yankees in Tampa, Trent Grisham drove in 2 runs and made a nice running catch in center field to help the struggling Yanks beat the Rays 2-1 for only their 7th victory in 24 games. Relievers Tim Hill and Luke Weaver each worked out of jams to protect a 1-run lead, and all-star closer Clay Holmes came on to bail out the Yankees from yet another tight spot in the 8th inning. Holmes got his 20th save and first since June 9th after blowing a pair of previous chances. The Yankees pitchers had allowed home runs in their 7 previous games in 18 of 19. New York rolled to a Major League Best 50-22 record through June 14th, but has now gone 6-16 since then to fall out of first place in the AL East. But despite that tough stretch, the Oilers aren't lighting the world on fire either. The Yankees enter the series finale today at Tropicana Field, just 2 games behind first place Baltimore. Division rivals begin a 3-game series in Baltimore tomorrow. Starter Marcus Stroman last night allowed 1 run and 7 hits over 4 1/3 innings, the second time in his past 3 outings that the right-hander failed to get through the 5th inning, and Juan Soto stole second base in the 8th inning, ending the Yankee streak of 21 games without a stolen base, their longest since a stretch from the 1961-62 seasons. Up next for the Yanks, the lefty Nestor Cortez is set to start tonight's series finale against Tampa's Shane Baz. First pitch there, 6:50 p.m. That's sports, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com, paviliontankless.com to find a dealer near you. They are the world's best built boilers, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
.53 on your Thursday morning. It's ironic. I'm about to talk to Alex Traiman because I'm watching out of the corner of my eye the lovely Ainsley Earhart on Fox News, and she's sitting with a young man wearing a yarmulke. Turns out the kid is a Harvard graduate student, and in the midst of all this Trump-Biden talk, even Fox News moments ago found its way to a 5-minute segment talking about how Harvard has decided to unsuspend, if that's a word, 5 anti-Israel protesters. So once again, the bad guys win at Harvard. Remember they made the president step down gay? She's still getting paid about $1 million. Elise Stefanik did a terrific job, but nothing's changed. Anti-Israel protesters still face zero repercussion. We know what happened here with this city with that rotten district attorney, that racist Alvin Bragg, who decided to prosecute nobody who broke into Columbia that night. So nothing has changed around this country or around the world. Nobody knows that better than my dear friend, the CEO of JNS.org in Jerusalem, my main man, Alex Traiman. Alex, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I guess you're not surprised to hear that Harvard now kind of wimped out on those 5 students. You guys sit around, you're in Jerusalem, and you look at what's going on around the United States, especially the last couple of months. Now, it's quiet now because there's no school. There's no school. But you have to be a moron or really naive to think that when school starts again in September, these animals are not going to go right back to doing what they were doing in May, right?
I think that's almost a guarantee that the situation on the campuses has taken a turn for the worse, and it's never going to go back to the way it was. And it's been was building for a long time. But, you know, we're seeing a lot of donors to these universities finally waking up. Maybe they should have done that a few decades ago, but we're seeing very large donations to these universities getting pulled. And simultaneously, we're seeing extremely large donations being given to Israeli universities in an attempt to encourage American students to seek degrees in Israel, which is pretty high quality and costs a lot less.
Oh, no doubt about it. My friend, my daughter's Ava, her friend Shira, had dinner with us 2 weeks ago. She's going to Tel Aviv University. When I was in Israel, for example, Danielle, you know, she went to visit Hebrew University. But the issue with the donors here in America becomes this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I keep hearing that for all the money that the Jews are pulling out, that the Arabs are putting it right back in, or the Chinese, or I don't know if any of that is true. Maybe that's just a conspiracy theory, but it's got to be somewhat true because it's not like all of these presidents are getting fired every day. They're not.
These are not conspiracy theories. For decades, the Saudis, the Qataris, and even the Chinese have been putting billions of dollars into American universities. Particularly the Qataris have been funding Middle East studies programs, not only in the Ivy League universities, but also at Title VI universities. And the reason why they pick Title VI universities is because those universities get tax dollars in order to create curriculums and textbooks for public schools in those states where those universities are. So not only are they affecting the minds of university students, but they're even planting seeds in public schools and high schools and elementary schools, leading kids from their social studies classes at early age to believe that Israel is a bad place and the source of all evil in the Middle East.
So just to kind of recap this university conversation, you and I are both in total agreement for folks that think, it's going away, not going away as soon as school starts, right back to the madness we saw in May, yes?
I think it's almost a guarantee. We'll have to see what the trigger is. You know, what the progressives do is they pour kerosene all over any situation, and then they start kindling matches, and they see which match will trigger a fire. So we don't know what the trigger will be, but I think that we're going to see continuation of the anti-Israel activity on the campus. And a lot of Jewish students are going to have to worry for their safety at their universities that they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to attend.
Hard to believe. Before we get to Biden, let's stick with this anti-Semitism, which we see in New York and Harvard and across this country. They just had elections, parliamentary elections in the UK, in France, and some really bad guys. I mean, some really bad pro-Palestinian, Jew-hating guys have been elected. So when you see now also what's happening with these latest elections in France, the United Kingdom, how disheartening is that too?
Well, this is actually happening in democracies all over the world. But the left is pushing to create conflict in the societies, divisiveness in the societies, and more progressive elements are getting to the tops of these parties. I mean, this left-wing party in France, it's not just like a mainstream left-wing moderate party. This is an amalgamation of some of the most extreme elements, including communists and socialists. Severe anti-Israel elements all banded together to present a left-wing alternative to what they call Macron as a centrist. I mean, Macron's a leftist, and they call him a centrist in comparison to what just basically won the election. You had the chief rabbi of French Jewry coming out just about a week ago and saying that he thinks that there's no future for young French, Jewish French people in France, and that they should consider strongly moving to Israel. And you have the same sentiments now in the UK. Jeremy Corbyn got to the head of the Labour Party in previous election cycle for anti-Semitism, and he got thrown out of the party for being an anti-Semite, but he won a parliamentary seat as an independent, and many of the so-called Corbynites got into the parliament there in the UK. And you've got a situation now where a lot of Jews in London and in Leeds and Manchester, they don't feel safe on the streets. You know about this yourself in the UK, and we are expecting a pretty big influx in the next several years of Jews from Great Britain into Israel.
I know it well. My daughter Ava doxed at Wales, which is only a 90-minute train ride from London. We've had a miserable 6 months, only because Ava's Jewish. Even here I'm experiencing this. I got to tell you, Alex, I do a 4-hour show, okay? And nothing comes close to the coverage that Donald Trump gets. 4 guests today, but for months, Donald Trump. And I do a lot of sports. You love this show. You listen. This is the most diverse show in the country. And I've actually cut down the Israel coverage to like 1 segment a day. You're doing it today. Dov Hikind called in live from the north yesterday. Part of that is because the American political cycle has taken over the big news. But part of it is, believe it or not, the amount of complaints. I mean, Alex, these people would say all Sid does is talk about Israel, which you and I both know is not even close to being the truth. Not even close. Maybe, yes, last October, November, December, but everybody does. Everybody did back then. But those people would say, well, I'm pro-Israel, but Sid talks too much about Israel, which, again, 4-hour show, maybe I do 1 segment a day. That's it. To me, that is another hint of the anti-Semitism that goes on even in this city when they complain about the Israel coverage when maybe it's 15 minutes in a 4-hour show.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, you're in New York City. There's no greater concentration of Jews in the United States than New York City. So it's certainly a relevant issue to a lot of your listeners. And I think that you should be proud of what you've done. I mean, we're proud of you here in Israel. It's meant a lot, this coverage. And there's so much misinformation on what's going on here in Israel. And for you to be, a voice of clarity and to bring on the guests that you've brought on, I think it's been very, very powerful. So I hope you'll continue to do it.
Oh, I absolutely will. And even though October 7th is only a few weeks before, basically a month before the election here, I'm going back to Israel. And I don't want to hear it. You want to complain? And then good luck to you, because you're right. There's a ton of misinformation. I mean, a lot of these morons in this country think it's basically over. Yeah, Hamas, they got them covered now in the south, and there's a couple of bombs falling in the north. I mean, I had Dov Hikind on yesterday. Him and his wife, Shani, are actually in the battle. There are rockets and missiles falling right at their feet. Alex. They are scared to death. And the truth is, the all-out war coming from Lebanon to the northern part of Israel is not that far away. And that could be disastrous for the country of Israel. And a lot of folks here just don't seem to care.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I will tell you that Israel is the canary in the coal mine here, and what happens here is going to have a profound effect on the future of America, and America's support for Israel during this conflict is also going to have a profound effect on the future of America because every ally of the United States is watching to see how the United States treats its allies in their times of crisis. And they're scratching their heads right now looking at how the United States is supporting, basically putting pressure on Israel, essentially supporting Iran, supporting Hamas, not convinced that this terror organization, which committed the worst massacre in modern Israeli history, that they should be removed from power. So, everybody's watching, and it has an impact. It has an impact on the future of America as well. And you're right, the situation in the north is bad. We had just today, we had somebody critically injured in a missile attack. Just yesterday, we had 2 people killed, driving on the roads when their car got struck by a missile sent from Hezbollah. In any other situation, every single red line would have been crossed, and you would be in all-out war. And Israel's trying as hard as they can to diffuse the conflict and to get out of a similar war as what we saw with Gaza. But anything can trigger right now, and even though they're trying to get out of it, we might find ourselves in a horrific situation in just a short period of time.
Oh, my God. I hope not, but it does look inevitable. Alex Traiman live in Jerusalem. So I want to thank you, Alex. It was you that tipped me off a couple of days ago that John and Rachel Goldberg were doing interviews. I had her on twice before. The last time I had her on, believe it or not, I was sitting face-to-face with her in your studios back in January in Jerusalem. It's been that long since she's been back, but she was on the other day for about 20 minutes talking about this Week of Goodness event. She finds a way with her son Hirsch, now in captivity for the better part of 280 days. She finds a way, believe it or not, to make it all good, make it optimistic. The Week of Goodness. She's a much, much better person than me. I'm angry. To me, it is a black and white issue. To her, it's not. I got to give that lady a ton of credit. She is a beautiful soul.
Yeah, this is the spirit of Israel. Even amidst all of the chaos, Israelis are looking for good. They're looking to celebrate life. This is the difference between Israelis and Palestinians. The Palestinians have a culture of martyrdom and death. There's no greater honor in the society to be killed by an Israeli, and that's why they promote terrorists. That's exactly what will happen. And here you have a woman whose son has been held in captivity, had his arm blown off, doesn't know if he's dead or alive, and they're dedicating a Torah, in a ceremony and launching a Week of Goodness. It's really special, and it doesn't take too much for a truly moral person to see, what's the side of good and what's the side of evil in this conflict. So
where are we in these hostage negotiations? Every couple of days there's a deal. United States announces a deal. Egypt announces a deal. Qatar announces a deal. None of it matters until Bibi announces a deal, and they still are being held captive. So I know that Biden right now is dealing with a lot more in the United States. He couldn't care less about Israel right now. But what is the latest with the hostage situation?
Well, Israel has the head of its Mossad and the Shin Bet. These are essentially the CIA and the FBI of Israel, right now in Egypt for negotiations. Israel's taking it very seriously. They want to wind down the intensive phases of this conflict. They're talking about winding down from phase 2 to phase 3, which is more limited operations. And they're looking for a way at this stage to get as many of the hostages as they can back, and would be willing to let Palestinian terrorists out of jail in order to get our hostages back. And they would even be willing to do a ceasefire at this stage for a period of weeks as they transition into a phase of more limited raids. There could even be a possibility to allow some senior members of Hamas to go into exile as part of a deal. So Israel's looking for that, but, it's not up to Netanyahu to announce a deal. He could announce any deal he wants. Ultimately, Israel's not the one that holds the hostages. I know that the slogan here is bring them home, but Hamas is holding hostages. So until they decide that they're ready to release the hostages, there's no deal.
All right, so finally on the way out, I treasure all of our conversations. And I remember the very, very first one after Noam Layden, I love Noam, said, get this guy Alex on Monday, October the 9th. And man, have we forged a great on and off air relationship, Alex, since you and your lovely wife, Chippy, your whole family. But again, not to pat myself on the back, but that Monday I told you Joe Biden was no good. And a lot of folks in America and Israel said, no, he's pro-Israel. I think all of you now have come to the really unfortunate realization that I was right. Are you guys talking a lot in Israel about the debate performance and all of these people in the United States, from politicians to entertainers like George Clooney, asking for Joe Biden to step down?
Well, we actually ran a poll this week at JNS. We did like an official poll with direct polls about what Israelis think about Biden versus Trump, and Israelis overwhelmingly think that Trump would be a better president for Israel during this time. I think that what the debate proves, is that Biden is not the one who's really guiding the Middle East policy vis-a-vis Israel. I think a lot of Israelis believe that in his heart that Biden would be more supportive of Israel. But what you can see now is that if he's not there, if he's not the one directing the policy, that the people underneath him really don't have that same sentiment towards Israel. I mean, you can't even suggest that they do. And if Biden won't be the president and they'll replace him with somebody else, I think Israelis would have to imagine that the situation is only going to be worse than it is with Biden. At this point, Biden might be the best chance that you have.
Yeah.
So,
no, you're right about that. I mean, Kamala Harris is more hateful to the Jews than Biden is. There's no question about that. So you're right. It could get worse if Biden leaves.
And at this point, at least the Democratic Party has to pretend that they're being neutral, that they're not throwing Israel completely under the bus because there's an election at stake. But if you get into January and there's another Democratic administration, Biden or Harris or anybody else, the situation could be much, much worse.
Very, very good point. As always, Alex Traiman, CEO, JNS.org. That's the only place I get my information on Israel. That's it, JNS.org. As always, Alex, wonderful job. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks so much, Sid.
You're the best. Alex Traiman, CEO of JNS.org. That wraps up what I thought was a great hour number one. Big hour number two about to come your way. The legal genius, Jonathan Turley. And, of course, the great Curtis Sliwa coming up right after Noam with the news. And a big 8 o'clock hour, too. Brian Kilmeade and Bill O'Reilly. Keep it right here. Sid Rosenberg on a Thursday.
is Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
We're in the heart of Long Island City, just a block away from the 59th Street Bridge. Queensbridge projects here. Hotels, notels, motels, everywhere filled with migrants. Well after curfew, as you can see behind me. Everybody just hanging out to the wee hours of the morning. This is mad crazy. Chaos. Out of control. You think the mayor comes down here and looks at all the hotels that have been converted into migrant centers? Blasting music, outrageous behavior. This might well be the worst part of the city. I mean, every block. And liberals, progressives, socialists live here, so they don't complain until now. Now they want Curtis and the Guardian Angels here. Well, we'll see what we can do, but it's a hot mess.
After 70 years, that's what he goes there for, is to unlock the door.
So Danielle and I are dating. It's 1991. We got married in 1992, my beautiful wife Danielle. And I love this song, Crazy, by Seal. You know, he ended up marrying, what is that supermodel? She was on America's Got Talent with Howard Stern. And what is her name? The German girl, the blonde girl. He married her.
I know, I'm thinking.
And he's got he's a good-looking guy, but his face is all messed up. What's her name, Curtis?
Oh, Heidi Klum?
Heidi Klum, very good, Curtis. So Danielle actually bought me this album. That was the first gift she got me back in 1991. And it is crazy, Curtis, once again, the voice of New York. He really is. Listen, I got no reason to suck up to Curtis. I got no reason to suck up to anybody. Anybody. But he is the voice and the heart and the soul of New York. But I've got terrible news for you, Curtis. Terrible news.
What?
George Clooney has asked you to step down in your run for mayor.
You know, he would have had to be at the Whitestone Republican Club last night, a revival, Vicky Palladino and all her followers. Last minute, I had to substitute for our colleague Dick Morris. He couldn't make it. 5 minutes to go. You know me. Give me a microphone. We didn't get out of there until 10:30 at night.
Is that right?
I must have gone on for 2.5 hours. These people were dancing when they heard that New York State has now been pronounced a battleground state. Because, I mean, those are uber Trumpers there.
Oh, there are. And, again, somebody told me a couple of days ago, Trump's only down 1 point in New Jersey. And certainly I've got a great relationship with Jack Ciattarelli and the folks out there. New York's in play. At the very least, if Trump doesn't win New York, he may not win New York, of course, but the down ballot voting in New York, they're going to add seats. They're going to add seats.
You see, this is the problem. The last two election cycles, 2016, 2020, I was outside the polls. Some of the people online 4 or 5 hours for Trump. They go in. They lock in for Trump, and they leave.
No, you can't do that.
They got to go straight down. Straight, because that's what the Democrats are worried about now. Down ballot.
Yes, they should be worried. So, and a state like New York, like you said, could easily flip a couple of seats in favor of Trump and the Republicans, which we have to do. It is enough with these Democrats. The mayor, the governor, all of them suck.
If you don't know who the people are, just go straight down Republican.
Right. That's it.
But you can't just vote for Trump and then leave.
No, you can't do that. So you were telling me a story. We covered men's basketball in the Olympics. Look, it's a slow time of year for sports. Mets are playing great. It's exciting. Yankees finally got a win last night. But don't forget, when I'm in Milwaukee next week, there's no baseball till Friday because it's the Major League Baseball All-Star break. And they're going to play the game in Arlington, Texas. The Texas Rangers won the World Series last year. So now we're already talking about training camp 2 weeks away for the Jets and the Giants. So the men's basketball at the Olympics in Paris is getting a lot of play because you have LeBron James, Steph Curry, a bunch of Hall of Famers playing together, Kevin Durant. But you said, talking about men's Olympic basketball, that you were in an area last night famous for great basketball players, and some of these residents are afraid of the illegals.
Basketball players and rappers. Queensbridge projects in the shadow of the 59th Street Bridge, or is it the Queensboro Bridge, or is it the Ed Koch Bridge? Would you make up your mind and pick one name?
I can stick with Ed Koch. I know the Mario Cuomo deal bothers people, but I can stick with Ed Koch.
So anyway, Queensbridge is the biggest public housing in America. It's got two sections. It's that big. So you go Queensbridge, Ravenswood, and then Astoria houses. But everybody's afraid of Queensbridge. I had a headquarters there. It's a blood project. So you had right on test. You remember Meta World Peace.
I remember him as Ron when he went to St. John's, and I really wanted the Knicks to draft him, but the Knicks were... they had a lot of small forwards. Latrell Sprewell was here at the time and others. And they said, we don't need them. So I guess he went to Indiana. And I really wish, just like Chris Mullin, all those St. George stars played in New York, but Ron did not.
No, in fact, he was a mini Dennis Rodman, defensive prowess. And when they won with the Lakers, they interviewed him. What are you saying, men of world peace? I want to thank my psychiatrist for keeping me cool, calm, and collected. Remember that famous interview?
Because he needed to be cool, calm, and collected because maybe the most famous brawl in the history of the NBA during a Pacers-Pistons game was started by Ron Artest.
Exactly. Meantime, there was also a place, the hallowed ground, the basketball court for Vern Fleming, who went to nearby Monte Cristi and Astoria, U.S. Olympic team, Nets, Pacers.
Very good player for the Pacers.
These are iconic figures.
Yes.
So I'm walking through Queensbridge, right? And I'm saying, hey, you see Nas lately, MC Shan, Prodigy, Noriega, Capone, Marley Marr, Roxanne Shante. These were all big-time rappers who came out of there. The brothers and sisters were saying, man, we don't go out of the projects now in the hood. I said, what do you mean? I said, look at all those illegals over there, man. These people are mad crazy.
Oh, hold on. You're telling me that the black people there are afraid of the illegals?
Yeah, because they're out all night, the illegals. There's no curfew. The other day, remember, they assaulted 2 police officers. They turned out they were from Ecuador. It was like me pulling teeth. They were out there last night. You saw them in that video. They're having a cookout. They're blasting their music. They're talking trash. And the brothers and sisters are like, yo, man, what? That's our neighborhood. They took our neighborhood. 24 no-tell motels converted into migrant shelters. The mayor never goes there. Never goes there.
Well, I will say this. The mayor and your city officials, and this is the truth, folks, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. There are many, many, many more hotels. Listen to me now. Many, many more hotels and places of residence for these illegals that your local officials are telling you about. Now, if you approach them, they may lie or they may say, yeah, recently, but there are many, many more than they're even telling you.
Now, whose congressional district is Long Island City?
Long Island City is going to be
AOC, all out crazy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, leader of the Socialists of America, who kicked out Amazon. We don't need Amazon. We love migrants. She doesn't go into the district. They all avoid who's in the district? Curtis Sliwa and the Guardian Angels, because the liberals, progressive socialists are saying, we're overwhelmed. They're having sex right outside of our brownstones. They're drinking cerveza and blasting out weed until 4 or 5 in the morning. They're going up and down with their motorcycles, their mini motorcycles, their mopeds, their Vespas. And the cops have been told, hands off. Let them run roughshod.
You know, right now, Donald Trump is in a great position. Partly because he was a very good president. He was a great president. Great. The greatest single-term president ever, maybe the greatest president ever. But largely because Joe Biden is such a mess. I look at you in the same situation. There is no question in my mind that nobody knows, loves, and cares more about this city than you. And that's a plus for you. But the mayor, Eric Adams, has been such a colossal disappointment, a complete waste of time, that much like Trump is taking advantage of Biden right now, I think you're in that same position. So it's a very simple question. When does Curtis Sliwa officially announce he's running again for mayor?
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You know, I don't have your super spectacular hearing aids that the doc who's away in Paris installed.
No, she's in Rome. She's in Rome. She saw Coldplay last night.
Let me tell you something about hearing aids. I won't get them because, you know, my hearing is as bad as you.
Oh, my God, you're just like Joe Biden. You wouldn't even answer the question.
Well, let me tell you something because you mentioned that. Last night I get home. It's 2, 3 in the morning from Queensbridge, from all the migrant shelters who are not going inside. Nancy right away barrages me verbally. You know, the wife always waits for you. Danielle probably does the same thing. I am so happy that I don't have hearing aids because I say, I can't hear you. I cup my ears. And it's true. I can't hear you. And when I'm in the streets, guys, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to put a bullet in your head. And I cup my ears and go, yo, man, I can't hear it. No habla English. I mean, no. You need that as an excuse with your wives.
I get it. When are you going to announce you're running for mayor?
Well, none of your BIB business. In fact, I'm running up to the Bronx Hispanic Clergy Coalition in between shows when I come back for the Rip and Read. I am the guest of the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr.
Oh, I love him.
All Hispanics here. They're the ones who helped organize that rally in Crotona Park.
It was
back
huge.
in late May that really set this whole thing in motion for President Donald Trump. And I think they have a surprise for me.
Oh, you think they do?
I think they have a surprise for me.
You want to intimate what that surprise is, or leave it up to the listeners to figure it out?
This isn't like Three Kings Day. This isn't like when you hit the piñata and all the prices come out.
Right. So on the way out in the final 60 seconds, this officer in training, Edgar Ordonez, I believe, Edgar, he passed away. Very rigorous training, very, very hot. And your friend and mine, Sal Greco, sent me something. I didn't read it, because he sends me 3 or 4 things a day, which blast all my friends at the NYPD. The mayor stuff, I don't care. I'm sick about the mayor, too. But I'm not going to go after my friends with the NYPD, which Sal does. I understand why Sal does it. But he was very critical of the NYPD yesterday after this guy died. Is that fair? What happened there?
No. Look, anybody who's ever played football, I played high school football, you show up in August, it's schwitzing.
Right. Corey Stringer died a couple of years ago for the Vikings.
Right. Coach tells you, take laps. You're probably collapsing. Then he sits you down and he shoves like 29 salt tablets down your mouth. And you have to drink from the bucket. Remember the old bucket?
Yes.
With the ladle. Because they see he's saying, oh my God, you're going to pass out. This has happened in high school sports, college sports, pro sports. Look, we feel for this young cadet, but I can't blame the NYPD.
Okay.
I mean, this is part of the training process. I don't know what went wrong with him medically. Yeah, there's a lot to fault. This is not one of them. But I want to bring up one thing to you before I bid adieu and head up to the Bronx Hispanic Clergy Coalition. Whatever happened to that mask ban that was, we're going to have a mask ban a few weeks ago. Mask ban. It was Hochul. There was Adams. Mask ban. What did I tell you? There'll never be a mask ban.
Well, the problem wasn't Adams this time, because he's all for it. He doesn't make that decision. In fact, he makes no decisions. It was Hochul. And I believe that Hochul's husband is still raking in a ton of money.
Oh, yes, he is. The grifter. He's
right.
Mr. Grifter.
From these mask companies, these COVID companies. I believe Hochul and her husband should be in prison for how much money they made. So the governor continues to talk about sick people. Idiot. There's no more COVID. And if you're a sick person, guess what? Just like you had to carry around a card for COVID, carry around a card that says, I have to wear a mask. Otherwise, take the goddamn masks off.
You know how they wine, dine, and pocket line Holcomb because she's full of nonsense. They just go to the husband there, who's a real dimrod, and they say, can we hire you as a consultant?
Of course.
Can we
and he gets big money.
They made $1 million last year. How the hell? Nobody wants to ask that question.
I know.
How do you make, in joint income filings, an extra $1 million? It's Mr. and Mrs. Grifter. New York State is for sale as more and more people continue to leave for Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee. The exodus continues because we are led by Kathy Hochul, who's full of nonsense. Whatever happened to that mask ban, huh? All these politicians at press conferences. Curtis Sliwa, I'm on your jock straps and your bra straps because you're all full of schnizzle. Schnizzle.
But we're never gonna survive.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
That's the great Bill O'Reilly. Bill's going to join me, as he does every Thursday, in about an hour, and he's the best ever. But Bill, it's not 25 or 50 million. It's important it was $25 million. And the reason why that's important is because when you look at the two major Biden fundraisers, the first one with Obama and Clinton when they were at Cipriani's, and oh, by the way, my friend Trump was sitting next to Stephanie Diller because her husband, the slain police officer, was being put to rest. That was $25 million. And then a month after that, this Clooney one with Clooney and Julia Roberts and all these fancy people, Barbra Streisand, that was also only $25 million. The reason why I bring that up is because one night in Mar-a-Lago, 2 weeks after that first Cipriani's event, Donald Trump raised $51 million. So Clooney and Julia Roberts and Obama and Clinton, two monster nights in Cipriani's and Westchester, they raised less money than Trump did one night at Mar-a-Lago. And lately, since those 34 felony convictions, Trump is kicking the crap out of Biden in the money area. He is kicking his ass all over the country like he is in the polls. Now, I'm not saying George Clooney doesn't matter and that money doesn't matter, because it certainly does. But I'm going to say it again, and Bill's going to yell at me later, say he's definitely quitting. He's definitely quitting. Okay, maybe you're right. But until Jill Biden says, I've had enough, it doesn't matter what George Clooney says. It doesn't matter what Bill O'Reilly says. It doesn't matter what Barack Obama says. Until Jill Biden says, okay, you guys win. Till she says that, Joe Biden will still be the president. And he will still run for the presidency again. Prove me wrong? Fine, I don't care. I think we'll beat anybody. I'd rather face Biden than Harris, to be honest. But until Jill says that, it doesn't matter how much noise is coming from the left. She's got to say, okay, you guys win. John Turley is a genius. I love him. You know, I love him and the other guy, Greg Jarrett. He's on this show quite a bit, too. Turley's got a new book out. He makes his debut on Sid and Friends in the morning. John Turley.
Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
I can tell you I'm looking forward to this. Jonathan Turley, I'm a huge fan. He's never been on this show before. I don't know how that's the case, but it's true. He's got a new book out. It's called The Indispensable Right, Free Speech in an Age of Rage. John Turley, welcome to Sid and Friends in the Morning, buddy. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Nice to have you. I want to start with the Baldwin stuff. It's the biggest news in the courtroom, I guess, coming up again today. Yesterday, the defense said he was an actor acting. And the prosecution said, no. He was reckless and somebody died. In the end, which one is it going to be? Was he just an actor acting?
You know, I was surprised when the court granted a defense motion that said that the jury would not be informed that Baldwin was not just an actor, but one of the producers. That strikes me as being a very significant fact. As a producer, he is responsible for many of these protocols. Ultimately, the set is his to run, maintain, keep safe. So I was astonished by the judge's decision that the jury wouldn't be informed of that. The problem that Baldwin has going into this is that he set his defense within the first few minutes of his speaking with police, when he said that, and then he went publicly and said this in an interview, that he never pulled the trigger. That's going to be a very hard thing for the defense to get over, because if the jury focuses on that, they're not going to believe him. I mean, they're going to have experts that just say, look, it didn't magically go off. He obviously did pull the trigger. He did pull back the hammer. And if they focus on that credibility issue, they may not hear the rest of this stuff. Look, this is an act of negligence. I've never been one of those, clamoring for the guy to be convicted and sent to prison. I'm not a big fan of his. But I think that his laying out that defense, I can tell you as a criminal defense attorney, would be a nightmare for me.
Yeah. I mean, the armorer already got into trouble. You would think that's the person who loaded the gun, I guess. I don't know. But you would think that would be the person that would be in more trouble than Alec, because even though you're right, Alec was a producer, he should be aware the actual gun belonged, at least that responsibility really belonged to the armorer. You can make that defense, yes?
Yeah, I think you can. And the problem, though, is that it was indeed the producers that I think hold a lot of responsibility because the set had a litany of problems. They had labor issues. They had safety issues. It was a very lackadaisical set when it came to standards and safety. All of that gets laid at the feet of the producers. They're ultimately the ones that are supposed to, bring all that into order. And so, I think that dual role of his should have been known to the jury.
Yeah. That's fair. Alec Baldwin does face up to 18 months in prison if convicted. But, John, I'm with you. He doesn't do a day of jail time, just like Donald Trump. He's not going to do a day of jail time either. But getting back to Trump for a second here, that SCOTUS decision, 6-3, really win for Trump about presidential immunity. I don't know about you, John, but I was really disappointed with Sotomayor. I understand. I get it. She's a lefty, but she's on the bench. She cannot be out there with these ridiculous scenarios about killing people and bribing people. I mean, I really thought for a very, very bright lady, and I'm very, very hesitant to criticize, Supreme Court justices. She came out as a clown last week. You disagree?
Well, I was very disappointed in that dissent as well. I thought that it ignored express statements in the majority opinion. She was referring to things that the majority had already discounted, had already exempted essentially from their decision. And she misrepresented the majority opinion. I mean, look, everyone's hair caught on fire in the media, and they started to say things that are absurd, but some people may believe them. You have Rachel Maddow going on saying, there'll be death squads. This is a death squad ruling. Well, most of us just sort of roll our eyes and move on, but there will be people out there who believe that. They will actually believe that that's what the court did. It's as far as you could possibly get from what the court did. The court created 3 different categories for cases, one in which you have absolute immunity. Those are for core constitutional issues. One in which you have a presumption that can be overcome. That's for the vast majority of official functions. And then there's the third of unofficial conduct where you have no protection. That's not a death squad ruling. No. That's finding the middle road.
Right.
But when it comes to these cases, it was a 1-2 punch. They first got hit with Fisher in terms of the special counsel that said you can't use obstruction claims, which is half his case in D.C. And then they got the haymaker on immunity. And the result, I think, is that they tore the wings off Jack Smith's case. The question is what he's going to do in D.C., and we're all waiting.
He got nothing. That's what he's got to do, John Turley. I mean, a year ago, I was talking to people like George Napolitano, Tacopina, Aidala, and they were scared to death for Trump. And over the last year, it's becoming increasingly obvious with Fani Willis, her performance in Georgia with Nathan Wade, with this immunity decision, with this ridiculous, Letitia James. All these trials, all of them are about to go away. Again, for people that were really nervous a year ago, John, it is collapsing right in front of their eyes, yes?
Well, I think a lot of it has collapsed. There's still some torpedoes in the water. We don't know what's going to happen. If he's elected, the federal cases could well never see a jury. The Georgia case, I don't see how you can possibly resurrect it, but they're going to try. And as for that Manhattan case, I think that there's layers of reversible error. And eventually, I hope it will also be reversed.
So what is the one for you that what's the biggest torpedo in the water right now?
Well, I think Mar-a-Lago has always been the most serious claim, but that's where Jack Smith really blew it. He's always had a problem with his appetite. He does not respect limits. He always pushes the envelope. And what he should have done if he was smart was just to have brought the obstruction claim. He could have gone to trial by now. But instead, he loaded up on these classification claims. And so I don't think he'll get to trial. But that has always been the most dangerous of the cases.
Got it. Let me get to this book. I know you got to run by 8. The Indispensable Right, Jonathan Turley, Free Speech in an Age of Rage. Trump is always saying nobody loves free speech more than me. I disagree. I do. I mean, John, I know you don't listen to this show every day, but believe me when I tell you, I take this thing right to the edge. I mean, I've done that for 25 years. That's how I made my bones in this career. I don't pull punches, and at times people go, how are you still on the air? And I'm okay with that. I'm all for it, and I always was all for it. Until I saw these pro-Palestinians take over all these cities, including mine. Now, I'm Jewish. There's a bias there. There's no question about it. But all of a sudden, for me, freedom of speech is kind of hazy. Tell me about the book and your thoughts on what I just said.
Well, the book has really been 30 years in the making. I didn't want to just write another free speech book. The book looks at why we're still struggling with free speech. And it describes how this is the most dangerous anti-free speech movement in our history. And it's because we have never seen an alliance of corporations, the media, academia, the government, all aligning against free speech. And the book goes through all of the personalities and periods that shaped our views of free speech. But we've never faced what we have today. And the book says, look, I think it's undeniable in my view that Joe Biden is the most anti-free speech president since John Adams. I mean, he has created an unprecedented censorship system. But the interesting thing about this movement, this anti-free speech movement, which is coming from higher education, it has taken hold in Europe, where free speech is in a free fall, is that it's not a popular movement in the United States. It's coming from higher education, it's coming from the media, it's coming from the establishment. But citizens don't like it. Polls show that citizens do not want censorship. It's in our DNA as Americans. And this book sort of explores why free speech is different here and why we have to have an awakening to get citizens to draw the line on our shore, because this wave from Europe is now hitting the United States. And we have to hold firm, or we will lose something that defines us as a people.
I agree. And again, I freedom of speech 100%. But don't you agree, John, that, again, going back to these pro-Palestinian marches, there's other examples the last couple of years, even the BLM stuff. Don't you agree that we've seen some things the last couple of years that make you think twice about how perfect and pure freedom of speech is?
No, I don't, because you actually can enforce these laws. What you want to do is you want to enforce the laws on conduct, not on speech. They can say anything they want, but when they engage in conduct that is unlawful, setting up occupation zones, taking over buildings, threatening people, individuals, faculty, and students, that's conduct.
Yeah, but wait a second. But it's speech. I mean, when a guy stands on the train and says, raise your hand if you're a Zionist, he hasn't touched anybody. But I can tell you there were people I knew on that train that were scared to death. That's not freedom of speech, John.
Yeah, there are areas where that falls under conduct, where you threaten people in that train. Those are actual people that you're directly threatening. It's not that speech can't be a crime. It's just that it has to be articulated so that it's trying to commit an act. In that case, he was trying to target people on that train to get them to leave. And there's a host of laws that prevent that. We can draw these lines without, eroding free speech.
Fair enough. Listen, I love you on Fox News. I really appreciate you coming on today. I hope you come back all the time. The book is The Indispensable Right, Free Speech in an Age of Rage. Jonathan Turley. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you for having me.
You got it, pal. Jonathan Turley right there. We'll take a short break. Lots more to do. The brilliant columnist of the New York Post, Michael Goodwin, he's coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, and a big 8 o'clock hour with Brian Kilmeade, and the segment of the week, Bill O'Reilly. Thursday with Sid. Keep it right here.
Fate up against your will. Through the thick and thin, he will wait until you give yourself to
him. This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
But you say he's just a friend.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
Big 8 o'clock hour about to come your way. Kilmeade and O'Reilly. Hey, now, what was that piece you played? Was that the DNC chair, Jamie Harrison?
Yes, it's the Jamie Harrison is the Democratic National Chair. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah.
Can you play that piece again for me, son?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
We were talking a few months ago about how amazing Joe Biden's speech was one of the best speeches we've ever seen in the State of Union. And because of a 90-minute debate, we throw all of that away?
Yes.
Come on, folks. Focus on what is important.
So Jimmy Harrison's a moron because, first of all, the State of the Union was a loud, yelling, screaming mess. The fact that he yelled and screamed for 90 minutes, you may consider that a great debate. I was there. I got thrown out of that place. He was a disaster. But forget about that. Just because of a 90-minute debate. How many years on this show have I complained about the awful presidency above and beyond all the physical ailments? See, after the debate, now the Democrats will never admit he's a bad president. They'll never do that. But now they go, oh, but he's not well enough, which is a really cowardice act. For me, it's less about how well he is. He just has made every wrong decision, every one. But if you want to focus on the physical ailments, that's fine. So to Jamie Harrison's point that everything was great before that debate, here's my old buddy Chuck Todd. Remember him? He was on this show every Friday for years, former moderator of Meet the Press. He was on a podcast recently, and he said, forget about the debate. We had these concerns 2 years ago. Chuck Todd, cut number 7.
I'm not going to out the cabinet secretary.
Right.
But I had a cabinet secretary 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay, 2 years ago. All out of the blue, asked me, do you really think he can't run again like this? And I said, well, you have more interaction with him than I do. And they said, I don't have a lot of interaction with him. This is a pretty senior cabinet secretary. So, and this was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. I think the folks at NBC are happy to hear that. You know, between ABC has come down hard on George Stephanopoulos because he criticized Biden, said he can jump out of the race. ABC's all over him. You think NBC is not going to be all over Chuck Todd? This is not George Clooney. Clooney has nobody to answer to except his idiot wife, Anal. These other guys, they got major networks they got to answer to. So Stephanopoulos and Chuck Todd is saying, hey, man, this is how I feel, and this is what I was told 2 years ago, according to Chuck Todd. Well, it's a big day for Biden. He's got a press conference today. His first press conference, I believe, in 30 months. 30.
Why is he doing that?
Because he's got to go out of his way to prove to these people that he's okay. But everything he's done since a debate has not been good either. Not as bad as a debate, but not good either, including the Stephanopoulos interview.
No, not a thing. No talking anymore.
Right.
That's
so today he's doing his first solo press conference in 30 months. He also has not done a solo TV interview, unrehearsed, in 16 months. So the pressure is on Biden. He's got his press conference today and Monday, talking about Chuck Todd and NBC. Monday, he's with Lester Holt. So the next 4 days, and I mean this, the next 4 days will tell us whether or not Joe Biden will stay in the race. I mean, again, it doesn't matter. It's up to Jill. He could be awful again. And with all this pressure, Obama, Clooney, you don't leave unless she tells him to leave. But
he should be coming out.
Yes.
It'd be great if she pulls him out on a gurney somehow.
That would be hilarious.
And like an old nurse's outfit.
Hilarious.
With an IV going.
Like something out of SpongeBob. They just grab him out of it. Yeah.
First question, Jim in the second row.
Well, he is going to answer questions today. I know that's nuts.
What a mistake.
What a disaster, as Joe Beningo would say. So we got a great 1-2 punch coming up.
Hey, bro.
Brian Kilmeade box into the great Bill O'Reilly. 1-2 punch, Kilmeade, O'Reilly, right here on a Thursday morning.
Want this killing done? God settled on Highway 61. Well, Georgia Sam, he had a bloody nose. Welfare department, they wouldn't give him no clothes. They asked for Howard, where can I go? Howard said there's only one place I know. Sam said, tell me quick, man, I got to run. Oh, Howard just pointed with his gun and said that way down Highway 61.
Entertaining and informative. This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
Mr. President, is it in your interest Is it easier? Is that a better opponent for you than anybody else, Joe Biden? Is it? I'll give you a quote from David Axelrod. He said, Trump's not talking anything about Biden's bad debate. He's not running blitzing campaign ads about the bad debate. Lara Trump last week said that it would be an affront to democracy if Biden were not the nominee. Why is he doing that? His conclusion is that you want Biden to be your opponent. Is that the right conclusion?
No, I don't care if it's him or somebody else. It's also policy. It's more about policy than anything else. And these radical Democrats are all radical. Everyone that they're talking about is a radical left lunatic. And whether it's Biden or whether it's somebody else, I think it's the same. They want open borders. They want all the things we just discussed and much more. No more gasoline-powered cars. They want you to go all electric, which don't go far and made in China, very expensive. They want, as an example, I say it, it's almost embarrassing to have to even say it. They want men playing in women's sports. And I want the opposite. So, it's...
so its policy is not
almost
the person.
An opposite philosophy. It's actually, Brian, an opposite philosophy. What's good and true and right, they almost want in all cases, they want the opposite. The Green New Scam is costing us trillions of dollars. It's ridiculous. They're wasting money.
Right.
And they've caused tremendous inflation. And we're going to stop all that.
Well, that was a great cut. That was a great cut right there. The question is, do you believe him when Donald Trump says, I don't care who I face? Of course, that was Trump with my guy yesterday, Brian Kilmeade. Brian follows me 10 a.m. every morning right here on 77 WABC, part of that great Fox and Friends crew, Fox News, every weekday morning, and his own great show. He invited me last week. I was at Naomi's house upstate, which comes your way after my buddy Mark Levin, 9 p.m. Saturday nights on Fox News, One Nation. Here he is, Brian Kilmeade. So I just played the cut there, Brian, of you and Trump yesterday, another great interview you did with Donald Trump. And he said he doesn't care who he faces if Joe Biden drops out. I'm here to tell you I don't believe him. I think he would much rather face Joe Biden than, say, Kamala Harris. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think you're right. But I also think that he does believe it's the policies that the problem, Sid, and I think you believe that too. I mean, Kamala Harris would be worse. And the worst thing about her is one guy can't study. The other woman, the vice president, chooses not to. She never gets briefed on anything. Never, as far as we know, she has nothing on her. You look back at her schedule, it's an embarrassment. Even for vice presidents, it famously, when we were growing up, didn't do much. Now they're really counted on in almost every administration, including when Joe Biden was working for Barack Obama. He gave him a lot to do. And to Joe Biden's credit, whether you like him or not, he was flying around the country. He had the border. He had Ukraine screwing up, I know, with Hunter, and that's all true. But at least he was doing stuff. She doesn't do anything. She got an assignment, didn't want to do it, doesn't do it. Now she loves talking about abortion. Abortion's the best thing ever. She loves going to abortion clinics. She is so over the top, she doesn't even realize what she's saying. And then she's in charge of AI. Do you know that any progress they're making on AI? And do you know who also is in charge of AI? Do you know that Barack Obama was asked to take that portfolio too? So Joe Biden doesn't even trust her with that. So she could take over. She'll be better on the stump. She can give a speech. She can read the prompter. I'm not saying she's not dumb. I'm not saying she's dumb, rather. I'm not saying she's not experienced.
Well, I'll say it. No,
but
she's
everything is unacceptable.
Yeah, she's dumb. I'm going to say it. She is absolutely stupid. And look, I get it. Black, female. That's why people are afraid to say she's stupid, but she is. She's dumb. And but again, she does pose that threat because of the two things I just said, black and female. You know, the thing I did notice about your conversation, Brian, with Trump yesterday was he was really relaxed. Now, I know Biden's campaign is falling apart and Trump is gaining in just about every state, including New York, so I understand why he was. But you got the same impression, yes?
Yeah, and I watched his appearance at Doral, and it went about an hour and a half. And he was funny. And he was just having a good time. Now, think about it. We always say this. The pressure he's under, I don't care what you think these cases are. When you got to be in prison, when you got to be in court, and you know the result could be prison, And you got to sit there every single day. Obviously, remember, he said it was freezing. And then he's got these three other court cases, which he got fingerprinted on, got the mugshot in Atlanta. And then you go home and you got to, of course, with the New York trial, the tension probably at home because of all the circumstances with Stormy Daniels' claims. That doesn't make anything pleasant when you walk in the House. And then, you had to battle for your nomination. You had a lot of people like Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie saying negative things about you in your own party. Can you imagine the he must have felt? And now he's beating back the court cases. The verdict, the 34 counts could be overturned as they look at what the ramifications of the Supreme Court ruling is. And then you have him running away. You have him winning in almost every battleground state over the course of the last 2 months. And then you have Joe Biden in free fall and destroy him in a debate. If anyone deserves a break, it's Trump. And that happiness is paying off. Also, on another note, my opinion, I think he loves hanging out with Barron. Barron is turning into like a kid that loves politics. They love golfing together. I think he's reinvigorated with him. And I think he likes being around, and I think he loves the attention that they're now going to get with the vice president selection. So he's on a roll, but he also knows how quickly he can switch. Like right now, they're trying to label him with behind a radical doctrine on Project 2025, 900 pages that they think he wrote in longhand. So they're trying to do their own Russia thing on him with 2025. That's not going to fly.
Yeah, you mentioned Project 2025. It's been in the news, but I have to tell you, Brian, even my smartest listener right now has no idea what you're talking about. I'm serious. They've read about it. They've heard about it. I know. What exactly is Project 2025?
Well, what happened is I like the guys at Heritage. I spoke there the other day, and anyone who's smart enough to ask me to speak, I think is a great think tank. I've never really been invited to be in a think tank, but they asked me to. I went to the Smithsonian and spoke right in front of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the original one signed. It's pretty amazing. And I spoke there, got a chance to meet them. Really bright guys. And by the way, they'll come on with you. Kevin Roberts is unbelievable, extremely bright, conversational, comfortable. But they put together a 900-page doctrine of what they would love to see within the next Republican administration. They wrote it before Trump even got the nomination. And, some guys like McAtee was a key aide to Trump, and Tom Homan contributed to the immigration part. And there was some other Trumpers that were in there and helped. But they just talked about a way forward. There's some things in there I don't fly with America today. They talk about traditional marriage. They talk about being against IVF. The border is right in sync with what the president's saying, but certain other things aren't. So Trump's saying, hey, listen, nice doctrine. I'm not going to read it. I like some people that worked on it, but that's not my plan. You want my plan? Look at the platform for the RNC. They don't want to do that. And that's what Joe Biden's doing, putting out videos and everything. 2025 is scary. They're going to make this country a autocracy. You know what it is? A conservative doctrine, 900 pages in detail. You know what else they did? They interviewed thousands of people for every job in Washington. And they want Trump to be able, or anybody, but in this case it's Trump, to be able to hit the ground running and get out every Biden person right away. They also talked about looking at Homeland Security and saying it's way too big and there's way too many do-nothing jobs. They talked about getting rid of the Department of Education. This is all stuff that we have to do. We have to shrink government. We can't afford this government. So there's nothing radical about it. It's just extremely conservative. Worth the read. It's a think tank. It's a think tank. Smart people get together and come up with plans. And then you use that if you like it. This is not a new concept. It's really how Washington works.
All right, so there you go. That is the end of the controversy right there. Brian Kilmeade.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You owe me a favor.
Of course. Yeah. Brian, coming up next, Fox and Friends and One Nation. Two more I'll let you run. You mentioned earlier all the stress and really pressure Donald Trump faced here in New York when he was on trial. But, you look at it, and I had this conversation with your colleague Todd Pyro. I was on his show yesterday. He was filling on Fox News Radio in the afternoon. And I said, look, he certainly made the best of that situation. Right, Brian? Meeting with the construction workers, meeting up in East Harlem with the bodega workers, the 100,000 large in Wildwood, New Jersey. And now all of a sudden Trump has a chance to maybe win New York, maybe at the very least. The down ballot, that ticket looks very good for New Yorkers. Now, I am going to say that I am a major, major reason for that, because there's been no other host in this city, or maybe any city, over the last 18 months that has been pumping up Donald Trump like me. But on a serious note, all of a sudden, New York, even Jersey, Brian, he's 1 point back in blue New Jersey. All of a sudden, there is no state in this country that Donald Trump can't compete.
Okay, a couple of things. No one can overstate your importance in this world, let alone New York City. So the impact you've already had on Earth, it goes beyond the pale. So, we owe you, the planet owes you, Sid.
Thank you very
we
much.
owe you I'm not even saying America owes you. The whole planet owes you. Everything from Tibet to Portugal.
Yes, thank you.
But a couple of things. Number one, I do think he's going to close the gap here, but most importantly, he's going to deliver some House seats or keep them Republican, because the policies are so horrendous in the city, and they're so left-wing in New York City that people are even Mayor Adams can't deal with them. And now when these people are getting out, you see a lot of him just shrugging his shoulders. I can't control this. I can't change this. Governor Hochul's having problems with it, and I'm no fan of either one of them, but they're so radical, they're making people revisit Republicans, and the Republicans are doing something they haven't done in a while. They're trying to compete. They're trying to compete in cities across the country. I wish more would compete here. And the other thing to keep in mind is that Trump's earning his way in New York, despite all the obstacles, because New Yorkers are discerning. They know 2 civil trials, they know a criminal trial, and they know that they used to worship Trump, and now all of a sudden these people are trying to bankrupt Trump, and they see no substance there, and they're not listening to the press who say that we're cracking down on a criminal. They know that Trump's not a criminal. They know that he does business in real estate. They know that civil trial should have concerned every rich and working class person in New York City, because it shows the power of this government. And you have people like Kevin O'Leary saying, look, I know people that are afraid to get involved in New York banks because of what happened. And there's a lot of people, rich and not rich, that are revisiting him. Think about this. Silicon Valley is thinking about Trump again. And Wall Street, that was walking away from Trump, is now coming back and saying, listen, we need some policies that are going to work, especially as it relates to energy. Those people live in New York City. They have families in New York City, so they might be able to deliver something. Here's the best thing. The best thing is, if you have a running game, it makes them, and a passing game, it makes defenses play you honestly. He is now in play in Virginia, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and dare I say New York. And I didn't know that poll about New Jersey. At the very least, Joe Biden, whose donor base is drying up, now has to spend there. So if you have to worry about the running game, it opens up the passing game.
Love it.
So now, good luck but he's got more of a shot in battleground states because he's making him spend in blue states. Is that an analysis that you would usually expect to pay for, Sid?
No, that was tremendous. I mean, that was somehow you just in 30 seconds became Sean Hannity and Phil Simms at the same time.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was possible. Right. Although Phil Simms is looking for a job right now. I hope that doesn't happen to me.
I know he is. No, you're going to be just fine. You're brilliant. That's what we heard just moments ago. So on the way out, Brian, about 2 minutes to go. Yesterday, you had the Illinois governor, Pritzker. He now has turned his back on Biden. We know that the Hollywood world, like George Clooney, he's turned his back on Biden. Every day there's another name. Bill O'Reilly is coming up next, right after you, and he is 1,000% sure, 1,000% sure that Joe Biden will step down. I got to see it. I know that it's up to Jill Biden, not Barack Obama, not George Clooney. It's up to Jill Biden. I haven't seen Jill Biden at this point start to sway. Your thoughts? Does Joe Biden step down or not?
Only if they have to use every leverage point possible, every pressure point available. He does not want to go. And he's not cognitively even aware that he's slipping. And Jill wants it more than he does. And I think that he is holding on. I mean, he stared down Nancy Pelosi all yesterday. She laid it out. She's like, let him know what you're going to do. She goes, I know. I'm telling you right now what I'm going to do. I'm staying. He goes, well, no, let me know. No, I'm staying. So he's staring him down. They tried to stop the George Clooney editorial. They called him up and they said, please don't publish this. Now they're having a Lester Holt interview on Monday night. On tonight at 5:30, you're going to see 5:30 Eastern time. You're going to see him do a press conference for an hour. So and then he's got a bunch of NATO things to do. All opportunities to slip up. Sid, we're going to watch this, and this is going to be odd. Every Republican wants him to do well. And every Democrat is hoping he trips over a sandbag while mumbling to himself. So he has to go. Yeah. So game on. If he pulls off these two interviews, the presser and Lester Holt, I don't think he's catapulted out.
I agree with you. There it is, the great Brian Kilmeade. When are you going to Milwaukee?
Sunday night. I was going to vacation there anyway. I just altered my plans a little. I mean, that's where everybody goes.
Oh, it is lovely this time of year. No question about it.
Right. So much better than Aruba.
Brian, that's a great job. I'll see you in Milwaukee next week. We'll all be watching One Nation on Saturday night.
Right, 9:00. And do you remember the one piece of advice I have for you? The one line is?
It would be stay within yourself.
Right, and that's all I ask for you. Sid. Just promise me you'll do that. When Bill's coming up next.
I promise. I'll say hello to Bill for you, and I'll see you in Wisconsin next week. Great, not good. Great conversation, Brian. Thank you so much.
Go get him, Sid. Thanks.
My man, Brian Kilmeade right there, folks. Fox and Friends, every weekday morning on Fox News, One Nation, 9 p.m. on Saturday nights. And most importantly, he follows me 10 a.m. every weekday right here on 77 WABC. And as promised, Bill O'Reilly coming up later this hour. More on a Thursday, Sid and Friends in the morning after these words.
Somebody blew the whistle and the walls came down. There's a meeting in the boardroom, they're trying to trace the smell. There's a leaking in the washroom, there's a sneaking personnel. Somewhere in the corridor, someone was heard to sneeze. Goodness me, could this be industrial disease? Caretaker was crucified for sleeping in his post. Refusing to be pacified, it's him they blame the most. Watchdog or rabies, the foreman got the police. Everyone concerned about industrial disease. There's panic on the switchboard, tongues and knots. Some come out with sympathy, some come out in spots. Some blame the management and some the employees. Everybody knows it's the industrial disease.
77 WABC. This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
So I get by with a little help from my friends.
Bill O'Reilly thought that Biden would be out of the race by now. Now he says tomorrow is a make or break day. Is he going to be right? Let's ask him. Bill O'Reilly, why is tomorrow make or break?
Well, if Biden falters tomorrow in the press conference, he'll have to resign. But I didn't say he would be out of the race already. That's not true.
Really?
What I did write, and I got it right
disagrees.
here. I can read it to you if you want.
What is that?
Okay. Well, whoever disagrees needs to read what I actually said. I said that the Democratic chieftains have made the decision that Joe has to go. It's absolutely true. And I'll prove it in a moment. But Barack Obama's most powerful person in the Democratic Party, Ron Klain, is second. All right?
Really?
Doesn't matter what the Congress people say.
I disagree with Bill. People who have been around President Obama the last few days is absolutely concerned. He has said nothing about believing Joe Biden can't win or that he's telling Joe Biden to get out. The idea that Ron Klain is the head of the Democratic Party is laughably
Didn't say he was the head of the Democratic Party.
Okay. Yes, you did. You said he's the second most powerful guy in the Democratic Party.
I'm getting a little... I'm getting a little teed off here.
Really?
Stop misquoting me.
What did you say about Ron Klain?
So knock it off.
What did you say about Ron Klain?
I said he's one of the chieftains.
You did not. You said he's the second most powerful person in the party, and I'm saying that's laughable.
In my opinion, he is.
Okay, your opinion.
You laugh all you want, but you're not telling the truth to the audience by misquoting
About
me.
what?
Period.
About what?
Yeah, one name. Yeah. David Axelrod.
Yeah.
You think Axelrod's going out on CNN
and saying
Biden has to go out without Obama's approval?
Yes.
Are you that dumb?
Yes.
Are you that dumb?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
David Axelrod says a lot of things without Obama's approval. You don't know David Axelrod well enough to know the answer to that question. I could call him right now. And get it. That's the difference. But you can get hot.
And they're going to tell you
usually
the
it's a
truth,
sign
right?
of insecurity in a position, just so you know. But go ahead about the press conference.
Don't misquote me.
Oh, please. You said Ron Klain is a big shot in the party.
Okay.
He isn't. It's just the truth.
Yeah, he
But go
is.
ahead.
He was Biden's chief of staff.
I know
for
who he
2.5
was. He
years.
also left to make money.
Come on.
And nobody's knocking on his door because he's never been particularly effective.
Oh, my God, what an asshole. I hope News Nation pays Bill O'Reilly a lot of money. Now you know why last year my friend Cindy Adams ran a story that I wanted to punch Chris Cuomo across the face. Of course, he was the one who started the whole fight. You remember you read all the texts on the air, Justin. After we bumped into each other New Year's Eve in New York 2 years ago, he wanted to fight me for $1 million. A charity celebrity fight. He wanted John Catsimatidis to put up $1 million. True story. Cindy Adams ran the whole story. He is such an asshole. I said it twice. Not because he yelled at my friend Bill O'Reilly, but he doesn't care about the truth. None of these Democrats do. None of these media members do. So, Bill, I hope you make a lot of money because the way he treated you last night was disrespectful for a guy that has never done better than like a 1 share to the guy that is the greatest cable TV man of all time. That was incredibly disrespectful.
You know, I see it differently. I'm right and he's wrong. I don't, disrespectful doesn't really enter into it. So this morning, and this was a gift from God, like Dan Aykroyd said in the Blues Brothers, we're on a mission from God. Politico runs a story that says George Clooney called Barack Obama before he allowed the op-ed to run in the New York Times.
But I've said to you also for over a year that Obama still runs his party. That's no secret.
The mistake that people make is that they think that Obama runs policy. He doesn't. He runs the overarch of the party, who's important and who isn't. And Ron Klain, 2.5 years chief of staff inside the White House, is basically the guy that carries it out. Obama doesn't leave his mansions. Klain is the guy who expedites. So anyway,
well, let me say one thing. Here's where I will slightly disagree with you. Unlike Chris Cuomo, and I will say, where I disagree with you is, Obama's got his hands in everything. Policy.
He doesn't do policy.
I'm sure, of course he does. Because Biden can't do it.
You and I have a gentleman's disagreement.
All right.
He doesn't do policy. If somebody calls him like George Clooney did, he'll give his opinion.
People call him all the time. All the time.
That's true.
Yes.
And he wants Biden out.
Yeah.
Now, you heard Cuomo say, Barack Obama didn't have anything to do with Joe Biden. And then there's a printed report today after I said last night, you're crazy. Obama's behind this whole get Joe out. He's behind 100%. If Obama was standing with Joe Biden, none of this would be happening. But I want to put in a word for Cuomo.
Let me just say this for Cuomo.
Wait.
This is why Cuomo.
But names
but
and
listen,
you don't like him and all
that's
that.
fine. But why Cuomo does this is, and this is unfair to you, is because he is a lefty. He is like a Sandy Koufax lefty, okay? So he's got to make it clear to his audience that, hey, I know Obama. I know Ron Klain. I can get Axelrod on the phone in 2 seconds because what he's trying to portray to his audience is that O'Reilly guy, he's a Republican. He was on Fox News all those years, which is just not true. Once again, that's disrespectful.
All right. Well, I don't see it as disrespectful. I think Cuomo, and I know Cuomo now because I've been doing this for almost 2 years, I think Cuomo does play to his crew. You're right. But when I throw stuff at him like I did last night, he doesn't fold and he doesn't, cry and whine. He and I, that's the best segment on cable news now in America. Cuomo O'Reilly. It's the best, the most entertaining, the most fiery. There it is. That's what it used to be on cable. All right? Nobody has the guts to do it anymore. But let me just walk real for the WABC audience who may not be up to speed. More than a year ago, I said Joe Biden would not be on the ballot in November, okay? Because I knew he was in cognitive decline. Then it got worse and worse and worse. And I continue to say this is putting the Democratic Party in deep jeopardy. Then he implodes on the debate night. Okay. Now the struggle is between the Biden loyalists, Jill Biden, and some acolytes, not many, who want him to stay, and the Obama wing who understands if Biden doesn't get out, and soon, Trump will win.
Now, don't forget to add one more name to Jill, and it's a very important name. No one should leave this out. It's his son, Hunter.
Okay.
You say,
Hunter
okay,
Biden,
but he may go to prison if Joe Biden steps down.
But believe me when I tell you that Joe Biden is not doing what Hunter Biden tells him to do. He is doing what his wife tells him to do. Okay, so now you have a situation where Trump wants to run against Biden. Okay, that's his weakest opponent.
Agreed.
Because going forward, other things are going to happen to Biden. So in October, he might not be able to get out of bed, the president. Obama knows that. He always looks ahead. It's not about what's happening now, it's what's going to happen. And Obama says to all these people, look, yeah, maybe he can recover from the debate, but it's going to happen again. It's inevitable. This is what happens with the disease. Trump knows that. Trump knows that in October, Biden might not be able to come out of the White House. He might be on a gurney, okay? And then Trump just walks in. So that's why Trump wants Biden to stay in, and that's why Obama wants Biden to stay out. Cuomo and the other traditional Democrats will not accept that. They don't look ahead. And I do. I knew more than a year ago that this was going to happen. Now, after you take your break, I got 10 questions that I would ask Joe Biden in tonight's press conference. And I have to bring this out. I'm bringing it out on my program. I brought it out on News Nation. And Cuomo let me pose these questions uninterrupted. So I know you don't like him, but Cuomo's not the devil that some people think he is. There are far worse. The whole MSNBC crew is much worse than Chris Cuomo. I actually enjoy going on with him, even though last night misquoting me, that is not going to happen. Anybody is not going to misquote me. That is not going to happen without me coming right back. So anyway, I got 10 questions that I think is even going to impress you, Sid. And I want you to have a pen and a paper.
Okay.
Because I don't think any of these questions are going to be asked. Because
None
the
of
White
them.
House press corps is too dumb.
Well, no, it's not that they're too dumb. They're too biased. You got one guy, Peter
dumb.
Doocy. That's it.
No, right now it's Shark Week in the White House. Shark Week. They're all dressed up like sharks. Remember Land Shark? Okay? Because they sense blood in the water for Biden. Yeah. They've turned on Biden, all of them.
Yeah.
There's nobody in there sticking up for Biden now. But they're too dumb to ask the questions that could take him out.
Well, let's do it. Let's get to these 10 questions. As you mentioned, Bill, because you know radio as well as anybody, we are going to take a short break, have these commercials pay the bills. When we get back, a fiery Bill O'Reilly will ask these 10 questions. He's been great. It's only going to get better. Keep it right here. Bill O'Reilly and Sid Rosenberg exclusively on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
But just so you folks know, I'll do this show live from the studios tomorrow. I head to Milwaukee really earlier than everybody else Saturday. I'll be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin Saturday night. I think I've got dinner planned Sunday night with the whole Nassau GOP at the Capitol Grill. And then I'll do all 5 shows, all 5 Sid and Friends in the morning shows from Milwaukee next week. Bill, before you get to these questions, I do want to ask you this. It doesn't matter what George Clooney says. It doesn't matter what Barack Obama says. It doesn't matter what Bill O'Reilly says, okay? It doesn't matter. If Jill Biden and Hunter, because, again, he may be facing prison time, if the family wants Joe to stay, he stays. There's nothing these people can do. They can't bribe him. They can't physically intimidate him. There's nothing they can do to make him leave. So he can still stay. So let me give you this scenario. He's not as bad as he was at the debate. He's just okay at the press conference today. And he's okay, not good, but okay with Lester Holt on Monday. You still think at that point that Joe Biden definitely leaves?
Yeah, because the next time he has a meltdown, they'll invoke the 25th Amendment.
Oh, they won't do that. No, they won't.
Well, they will if it's debilitating.
Oh. Well, then they just lost the election anyway. I don't care.
Right,
That's fine.
Right.
Let him do it.
That's exactly right. So Biden knows the Democratic power structure, cannot remove him. Knows that. Okay? That's why Jill and Joe are doing what they're doing. But the next time there's a meltdown, and there will be, then the 25th comes into play. So the Democratic Party, look, this would be one of the first times in history that a candidate for a political party runs for president when his own party doesn't want him to. I'm a historian. This is almost unprecedented. Nixon did not want to leave. He said he wasn't going to leave. He had a White House guard that told him he didn't have to leave. He left. LBJ didn't want to leave. Finally, Lady Bird came up to him and said, yeah, you're going to leave. And he did. Okay? That's what's going to happen to Biden, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
No, you may be right. I don't know.
I've been right every step of the way.
Yeah.
I know how this works.
Okay. Now let's get to the. One more thing though. Your VP was wrong because you told me for weeks and months it was going to be Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and now you're telling me Marco Rubio.
No, I said the best candidate would be. Don't do a Cuomo on me. Okay? I said the best VP candidate would be, not that she was going to get it.
Okay.
And this is a common mistake people make. When I analyze the news, I'm very precise. All right? So now I'm guessing that it will be little Marco.
Well, explain this to me. There's an issue with the fact they both live in Florida. Do you think that Trump...
All the little guy has to do is go across the Georgia state line and rent a condo.
I would think that Trump would actually change to Bedminster, New Jersey first.
No, he's not going to do that.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. You think Marco will get it, but you think the best choice...
No, I'm guessing.
Right, but you think the best choice...
Most of my analysis is based on facts.
Right.
This is a guess.
Right, nobody knows.
The reason is that Hispanic voters are gravitating toward Trump.
Yes.
If that continues and goes over 50% of the Hispanic vote, Trump wins.
Right. Agreed.
Okay?
Yes.
So, who is the most favorable vote getter in the crew? That would have to be Senator Rubio.
Well, that's the crew of the finalists, the media.
Right.
But
that's the crew of who Trump is vetting. He is by far and away the strongest vote getter for Trump. And Trump knows that.
Right. But do you still think...
That's why I'm guessing it'll be him.
It's a good guess, but do you still believe in your heart of hearts, because you said this, that it may be Marco Rubio, but do you still believe in your heart of hearts that the best choice may be Nikki Haley?
If he wants to win Trump, it's the calculation is, what can I put up with? The Kennedys hated Lyndon Johnson, despised him, put him on the second ticket in 1960 because they had to carry Texas and other southern states. That's how this game is played. If you are a VP, the president doesn't even have to see you. All right? FDR did not even know Harry Truman existed. All right?
That's true, yes.
Okay. So if Trump would put Nikki Haley on as second, independent women voters may come to him. So that's the calculation there. But he does not like her.
Right.
And for Trump, that's big. And she is not very likable. I have dealt with the governor.
Yeah.
Okay.
But would it make sense then if he doesn't pick her as the VP? The talk this morning is, and she's not going to be the VP. The talk this morning is, at the very least, should Donald Trump invite her to Milwaukee to speak? What do you think?
I don't think he will do that. I don't think he's going to give her any love, as they say, at all. Okay. I could be wrong. I don't follow this stuff. I know you'll have a blast in Milwaukee. What an exciting town that is. You can tour the breweries. You can go over to the Brewers and wave at them on the field. Yeah. You go down to Lake Michigan and look at it. Don't go in. It's a little Gowanus Canal. Yeah. Okay? It's a little Gowanus Canal out there in Lake Michigan by Milwaukee. So you'll have a blast. What are you going to be there, 3 months?
Basically, 5 days is going to feel like 3 months. You nailed it, Bill O'Reilly. That's right. Every day will be 6 weeks.
Right.
See, I've been to Wisconsin. I've been to La Crosse. I've been to a Green Bay Packer Minnesota Viking game, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, look, beautiful state.
Yes.
But Milwaukee, I don't know if that's a vacation destination.
A little better than Detroit. That's about it. All right, give me this Bill O'Reilly 10 questions. My listeners they're waiting with bated breath.
Get your pens and paper because you listen to see if any of these are asked. So first question, Mr. President, it might be a good thing for Americans if you had an independent neurological exam your opponent as well. That might reassure some citizens. Will you do it? Now, if he'll dance, but then you go, will you do it again? Okay, second question. So far, Mr. President, your immigration policies have cost the American taxpayer $500 billion. How do you justify that? Third question. Deaths from narcotics have risen 36% on your watch. Why? Fourth question. Grocery prices are up 21% since you took office. Why? Fifth question. The average gas price is up 38% under your administration. Why? Sixth question. Why did your administration abandon $7 billion worth of U.S. weapons to the Taliban? Seventh question. Do you support any restrictions on abortion whatsoever? Eighth question. Considering Catholic doctrine, as a Catholic, are you concerned you will be held accountable for your promotion of abortion after you die? That's a big one. 9. Do you support a wealth tax whereby the federal government would demand payments on unrealized investment gains? And the last one, you appointed Vice President Harris to explore the root causes of illegal immigration. What did she report back to you?
Oh, those are great. By the fourth question, you won't need the 25th Amendment. He's going to die right there.
Well, these are not gotcha questions. These are all fact-based questions, and I don't believe he could answer any one of them.
And you also don't believe they're going to be asked? I mean, the border question seems to be a pretty easy one to figure out.
Well, they would never do the abortion question because that would give credibility to the Catholic doctrine.
No, I said the border question.
Oh, the border question.
Yeah.
Well, they got to be thinking about. Look, I am down on the White House press corps because I know personally, or some of them have passed now, really good White House correspondents like Brit Hume. It's a shadow of what it used to be. These people in the White House, generally speaking, are told what to ask by their corporate masters. They are not thinkers. They do not know history. And they are there kind of blathering. You have to keep in a press conference with a guy like Biden the questions tight. No more than 2 sentences. And then why? Why? Have him explain. Because he can't explain. Just the drug overdose question alone.
Yes.
Why are drug overdose deaths up 36% during your administration?
Well, it's an easy answer. The reason is because I've allowed the borders to be wide open.
But he's not going to say that.
Why
not? Okay. So what? But here's the drama. What would he say?
What would he say?
Lester Holt shot at him.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you what he'll say, okay? Here's what he's going to say, okay? Donald Trump caused all of this.
Yes, he will, of course.
I mean, every question
you
ask.
In your follow-up question, you can say, we're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about you.
No, you asked me, why is there a problem?
No, I know that, but I'm following up.
No, but I'm saying he could say, well, you asked me what the problem is, and I can't just exclude Donald Trump from the conversation because he caused all these.
Then you say, for the record, all of these drug deaths are Trump's fault. He looks like a schmo if he says that. Now, Lester Holt has a shot at him on Monday. Okay, and I've interviewed 5 presidents. Now, Lester is an honest man. I work with him at WCBS at Channel 2. But I don't know if Lester has the cojones.
He doesn't.
Because that's a Spanish word, right?
It's for big balls.
Okay. To ask what needs to be asked.
He doesn't. That's your answer.
We'll see, right?
He doesn't. I'll tell you right now.
But if any of WABC listeners object to any of those questions, and they're simple man questions.
Did you write those down? Could I go to BillO'Reilly.com?
Yes, I wrote them down beyond BillO'Reilly.com. All right, it's my lead today. You can download it, and everybody at WABC should be premium and concierge members, but you don't even have to be. You can go in, all right, and then just read what we have. So when I gave those questions to Cuomo last night on News Nation, I read them just as I read them to you. He didn't have an objection to any of them.
I don't either. In fact, I'm going to keep score like I would at a baseball or Met game with you.
Right.
And what we're going to do now is, because of this great thing you've come up with, now, if you don't mind, you're going to come back tomorrow. And we're going to talk about all the questions he did or did not answer and whether or not his performance was good and or bad enough to continue his presidency.
For you, I'll do it.
You say the same thing to all the boys.
No, I don't think. If Cuomo called me, I don't think I would. No, that's not fair.
No, but listen, you're right.
We'll do the scorecard. I'm also going to be tweeting during the press conference tonight at Bill O'Reilly. So you can get my live time tonight during the press conference. And then we'll kick it around tomorrow on the Sid and Friends show. I've got to be the best friend.
Oh, you are?
Sid and Friends. I have to be,
well,
right?
It's you and John. John pays my salary, so it's you and John.
Yeah, that puts him up there in the best friend category.
Right, kind of like you and Ailes, you know what I'm saying? So, I love him too. But I'll tell you what you said earlier, which is right. And I don't like Chris Cuomo, not even a little. But I'd be lying if I said that was not a really entertaining conversation. And yeah, he's stubborn.
This is what I mean. People run Cuomo down, and that's fine. You have an opinion. People hate me. People hate you. I don't know if anybody hates Rosenberg, but I think I could drag a few people up.
They do.
Okay. And they hate Cuomo, and it's fine. But it's what you do on the air that counts. And Cuomo is man enough, and I say that literally, to put me on the air. And whatever I say, back and forth.
Yeah, no,
you think anybody at NBC News, anybody at CNN would put me on the air for that kind of a joust?
Never. No, it reminded me. It reminded me a lot of a good buddy of yours, Sean Hannity, and the back and forth Sean would do with Alan Combs. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean that's what cable news used to be: fiery debate. But now it's tell me more.
Yes, that's really good.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And that's what the White House press corps is all about.
Yes.
They're frightened people. There's no. I don't like Sam Donaldson. He's like really ridiculous in real life. But man, that guy, he really worked it. There's nobody close to that. Peter Doocy is the best of them. But Doocy knows he's making big money by trying to make Biden look bad.
Right.
All right, he knows that, but
yes.
At least he's got the guts to ask the questions. The rest of them are like, I'm telling you, I take a fire hose to all of them.
Bill O'Reilly, this was an amazing, amazing segment. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. Enjoy the press conference tonight. And, folks, once again, go to BillO'Reilly.com. It's the best, folks. Great interviews, great TV show, great columns. Check out the 10 questions which Bill just read here on this program moments ago and see if, in fact, they hold true at today's very pivotal press conference for Joe Biden. As always, Bill, amazing job. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thanks for having me in, Sid.
Oh, come on, you're best. You're the best. Bill O'Reilly. That was great. Don't forget, Bill's on 9 p.m. every weeknight right here, too, on WABC. Gets terrific ratings. BillO'Reilly.com. We'll take a short break. I'm coming right back.
Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
You have to remember with men's Olympic basketball, forever, since the Dream Team, it's been a friendship retreat. And I think the friendship retreat this year is going to be all about LeBron and Steph. They have never been on a team like this together. And LeBron is dying to be friends with Steph Curry. Like dying. You could see it. And this, by the way, the friendships go all the way back to the Dream Team. I want to say it was Bird and Ewing, correct me if I'm wrong on that became really good friends as a result of that. Miami's Big Three was built out of all these guys being on the Olympics together. So LeBron's playing point guard for them. I think he's going to do everything in his power to prop Steph Curry up. I think that's what we're going to see this Olympic. But now, 92-92, fourth quarter, who gets the ball? I actually think it's going to be in. But I think LeBron and Steph is going to be a big theme in this Olympics, that their friendship is going to hit another level. And then we're going to have all the conversations. LeBron has a no trade, but a 15% trade kicker. Did you hear what I said? He has a no trade, but a 15% trade kicker, which means, yeah, go ahead, trade me somewhere else, but I'm picking the place, and I'm going to make more money as a result of it. Mm-hmm. That Warriors-LeBron thing, I bet you it starts up again at some point this year because of the friendship that these two guys are now going to have over the Olympics.
People talking, and they're saying that you're leaving. So unhappy with the way that you've been living. Oh, we always wish for money. We always wish for fame. We think we have the answers. Some things that ever gonna change. It doesn't matter who you are. It's all the same. What's in your heart will never change. Look in the mirror.
ESPN. How's that going to happen? How does LeBron James basically make the Los Angeles Lakers draft his son Bronny, then decide midway through the season he's going to leave his son back in Los Angeles and go play ball with Steph Curry in San Francisco? Maybe he's got a better chance of winning, I don't know, but he's going to pick Steph Curry over his kid? I mean, is that possible? You tell me. You know, talking about basketball, and, of course, we're going to Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention. And Milwaukee's the home of a great basketball team, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Greek Freak. What are they now, 2 years removed from winning the NBA championship? And they're one of the powerhouses inside the Eastern Conference every year. Even when I was a kid, I used to like to watch the Milwaukee Bucks. I had two guys in particular that I loved. One was the best defensive guard in basketball. We share the same name, Sidney Moncrief, and the other was a really good scoring small forward out of UCLA, Marcus Johnson.
I was just going to say Marcus Johnson.
Yeah, but they had they had like Junior Bridgman.
Great.
They had a bunch of guys that can score. Winters.
Good team.
Yes.
Brian Winters.
Yeah, but they never won. But they had good teams, real good teams.
I think Marcus Johnson was in White Men Can't Jump.
I think he was too, yes.
Right. I think he played in the last 2-on-2 game, I
think you're right. I think you're right.
The one when they won.
But a guy that really knows that city is the voice of the New York Knicks and the voice of the NBA. He is a Hall of Famer, and that is our dear friend Mike Breen. And just 2 days ago, my son Gabriel had the chance to hang out with Mike Breen and talk to Mike at Bruce Beck's sports broadcasting camp. Today is the day that Gabe will interview former New York Jet quarterback Ray Lucas. But Gabe loves Breen, loves him. And the Knicks, of course, are his favorite sports franchise. And Mike Breen texted me moments ago, because Anthony D'Esposito, the great congressman out of Long Island, has already invited me to the steakhouse, a Capitol Grill, with Joe Cairo and the whole Nassau GOP on Sunday night, which is very, very nice, Anthony, and I'll be there. But Mike Breen says in Milwaukee, you need to go to Carnivore, an elite steakhouse. He also says it's a great place, great steak, great wine. For Italian, Mike Breen recommends the Calderone Club, really good Italian, excellent casual place. Both restaurants are right downtown by my hotel. And now, Breeny texted me again.
This is nonstop.
He had another steakhouse in Milwaukee, Moe's Steakhouse. So,
I know Moe's.
I mean, but you know, you think about Milwaukee, you think about beer, you think about Laverne and Shirley. Between Capitol Grill, Moe's, and Carnivore, that's like three really good steakhouses in Milwaukee.
You're set.
We are good to go.
Thanks
Very
to Mike.
excited.
Thanks to Mike.
Lara Trump just texted me, too. She can't make it on tomorrow. She's too busy. In fact, she won't be on next week either. She is so run down by the RNC. She's been in Milwaukee for 3 days already. So we'll talk to Lara the week after next. Okay, we'll take a short break. Another great guest still to come. And I believe he's the best writer in the country. I really do. And he's tremendous on this show as well. New York Post columnist Michael Goodwin. We'll talk about the city, the country, all of it. Mike Goodwin stopping by in a few.
Do you remember when you got your lucky break? You're looking back now, and it seems like a mistake. We always wish for money. We always wish for fame. We think we have the answers. Some things ain't ever gonna change. It doesn't matter who you are. It's all the same. What's in your heart will never change. It's only change. It doesn't matter who you are. It's all the same. What's in your heart will never change. It doesn't matter who you are. It's all the same. What's in your heart will stay the same. It doesn't matter who you are. It's all the same.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
Nothing so loud as hearing when we lie. Truth is not kind, and you said neither am I. And the air outside so soft is saying everything.
Michael Goodwin, New York Post, will join me coming up next. Well, right now we are 8 hours away. 8 hours away from the big Joe Biden news conference. Just so you know, a little comparison for you. First term after July 4th, at this point in their presidential careers, Barack Obama held 32 news conferences, Donald Trump 16, and Joe Biden 14. It's rare. It's been a while. So Biden will do it coming up in 8 hours. It's going to be questions. And there's just one major question. If this performance today is at all like what we saw in that debate, then it may be over. But again, I keep doing the same thing. Jill's going to tell him he's fine. I don't know. If he has a good performance today, he's going to stick around. He'll be fine with Lester Holt on Monday because that's a TV production. They'll save his ass on that. That's not live. I don't believe it's live, is it? Maybe it is. Either way, today will be a pretty good barometer of how long Biden sticks around, if he sticks around at all. Mike Goodwin is all over that stuff. He's all over the mayor. He's all over the governor. And he's all over the president as well. So we'll talk to the great columnist of the New York Post, Michael Goodwin.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
Love it. More Coldplay for you. My ear doctor, Shelley Borsch. I'm on the way to the ear doctor after the show to get my hearing aids fixed before I go to Milwaukee in Florida. She saw Coldplay in Rome last night. I just saw the weather. Today's going to be warm, close to 90 again. Then you get rain, low 80s, Friday and Saturday. But Monday through Thursday next week, I'll be in Milwaukee. Every day in the mid-90s. That's the temperature. That's not real feel. It'll be well into the hundreds. Every day in the mid-90s. Monday through Thursday of next week. Milwaukee, mid-80s. Mike Goodwin is the best writer in the country, folks. He just is, New York Post columnist. Michael, good morning, buddy. How are you?
So far, so good, Sid. Thank you.
All right. Well, the heat is on here in New York, and the heat is going to be turned up in a big way next week, Monday through Thursday. But the heat for Joe Biden today, it may not get hotter. Everybody's waiting to see how he responds after that horrible debate rebounds, I should say. With the press conference coming up at 5:30 this afternoon, what do you expect to see?
Well, first of all, I think you make a fascinating point, which is that everybody is watching him to see if he can do a normal thing that we associate with the job of being president, or even city council president.
Or anybody, even a basketball player after a game.
That's right. You have to be able to speak coherently and address questions. He has not been able to do that more often than not, and it is a crisis, frankly, that our president is so enfeebled that we cannot expect the minimum that we would expect of anybody else in any public servant job. So I think that's the first hurdle for him. It's not just today, it's tomorrow, it's the next day, and the day after that. And if you look out toward the election, that's a gauntlet, right?
Yeah,
He's got to run this course every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day. He's going to do a lot of campaigning. He's going to go to factories. He's going to go to stores. He's going to have ice cream, and we're going to treat him like a baby. And it's just the mere fact that we are having this conversation about these routine things. It is itself a guilty verdict of his standing. We're not even talking about what he's going to say. We're not even talking about the substance of the topics that he would be covering today and for the rest of the campaign. I don't see how he climbs out of this. I mean, the Democrats seem to have stalled there on Monday and Tuesday. It looked like the dam was about to break, and then Biden fought back very hard, pushed back, said he wasn't going to go, wrote that letter to Congress, and made it very clear he was not going to go on his own. And there's no way to get rid of him if he won't agree to it. I mean, the delegates are his. I mean, maybe there's some legal loophole at the convention, but I don't think the Democrats even want to consider that. He's got to agree to go. And I think the only way that's going to happen is if he screws up again publicly in ways that were just like the debate. And therefore the door is slammed, it's going to be a landslide, blah, 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 then he might agree. But let's face it, he's not completely with it. So he may not even realize.
No, he doesn't. He has no idea how bad he is. And again, it's not him, it's his wife. And I think to a certain extent his son, Bill O'Reilly, downplayed that. But I think Hunter goes away if the president steps down. So there are two people that are really vested in this, the two people he loves the most, his wife and his son, that are dying for him to stay, and they are going to make that ultimate decision. So it may not be today. He may have a decent day today, maybe Monday with Lester Holt. It's decent too. But you have to expect somewhere down the road he's going to falter, have an appearance like he did in the debate, if not sooner than later. But I really believe that as long as his wife and his kid are in his ear, it doesn't matter what Barack Obama says or 9 House Democrats. He stays.
Right. Look, and of course there's lots of speculation about what Jill Biden wants out of this. I mean, what is her point? Does she just like the life so much that she'll watch him be destroyed publicly? I mean, whatever legacy he had, and I have never been a fan of Joe Biden's, but whatever legacy he had among the people who do think he's had a worthy career, that will be destroyed by this final ending. I mean, there will be no recovery. There will, maybe in 100 years, someone would re-examine the entrails of his career, but for the time being, he would destroy himself. I mean, when the New York Times, and you and I, Sid, have had many conversations about the New York Times, and we both loathe what it has become, but it is still a power, especially within the Democratic Party. And when it turns on Biden, I've never seen it turn on any Democrat that way. I mean, in the 25 years or so that it has become a radical rag for the left, I have never seen it go after another Democrat like that.
Agreed. So, we're talking about other Democrat politicians and how they feel they want him out or his family. But one thing you can't overlook is money. He had those two big fundraisers, the one at Cipriani's with Obama and Clinton. He raised about $25 million. Then he had another one about a month later in Westchester, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Barbra Streisand, another $25 million, which, by the way, both of those nights were surpassed in one night by Donald Trump down at Mar-a-Lago 2 weeks after Biden's Cipriani event. But if George Clooney stabs you in the back, that's more dangerous than Jerry Nadler, because George Clooney makes sure that a lot of Hollywood celebrities put money into that Biden campaign. So, believe it or not, even in the last couple of days, Biden has fought back. The George Clooney statement yesterday, and he went to Obama first. The George Clooney statement could turn out to be very, very painful.
Well, and again, the fact that it was published in the New York Times is what gave it a resonance within the party. I mean, of course, Clooney is a power unto himself in these ways because he has been such a big donor and organized these events. But the fact that the Times published it is another layer of how the wall is built against Biden's future. And I'm sure, I mean, the report last night that the Biden people tried to get the Times not to publish the piece. I mean, this is all in a circle. This is a family that is erupting into the nastiest fight possible. I mean, this is, as I said 2 weeks ago, when this thing first started after the debate, for everybody else, get your popcorn, because this is going to be the Democrats doing to each other what Republicans have been doing to each other for a generation or so, which is just fratricide, right? Killing each other, it's a knife. It's a knife fight wherever you turn. Yeah. This is now the other party doing the same thing.
It is. I want to play this for you though, because I love it when we start on the federal level, then we take it to the city level, because I love it when you talk about what's going on in the city. I think you're great with that. So they asked Mayor Eric Adams, another opportunity for Adams to say, listen, I think he should step down. You saw his performance. And by the way, he's killing my city. I've got illegals on every street corner. I'm even lying to you. I have more and more hotels every day where I'm storing these illegals. I'm not even telling you about it. He's killing my city. He had that chance to do it again yesterday. Of course, he didn't. This is instead what Mayor Eric Adams said.
On President Biden, he basically dug in yesterday. He said, I'm not going anywhere. A handful of House Dems have come out and said, hey, we really need to replace you atop of the ticket. I want to come at this from a perspective of your meeting with African-American leaders yesterday, real people, real voters. What, if any, concerns are you hearing, and is President Biden being tone deaf to any of those concerns?
Well, I always say over and over again that I tell my leaders throughout the city, golf, there's a saying, you drive for show, you putt for dough.
Stop.
Local politics matter. I have to keep the lights on, trains running, streets safe, educate our children, and make sure Lori's happy with the $53 million we got in the culture affairs. This stuff is going to play itself out. The team would tell you, there's a quote I say all the time, it's all part of the process. We're going to look over this moment, and I'm just happy to be part of American history as we're seeing a lot of this stuff unfold. These are exciting times, and it's going to really see, are we who we say we are as Americans? It's easy to recite the Constitution. It's easy to talk about the principles of democracy. Now they're being challenged. Let's see what we're really made of. And the president will make determination on what he's doing. He's the president of the United States. And I respect that. And he'll make the determination on what he's going to do. And so I think that, if we're going to be Democrats, then we should we have a Democratic leader. And I respect the process. Let the process play out. I got enough stuff going on right here in the Big Apple, the biggest city on the globe and the most important city. And that's my focus. My focus is right here. I want to putt for the dough.
My God, he's never played golf in his life. But anyway, he called it exciting times. They're scary times. He said he's happy to be a part of history. He said any one of us can recite the Constitution. I'd pay to see that, by the way, unrehearsed Eric Adams. On a serious note, what do you think of his response?
Well, you're right. He could have used that moment to talk about something significant about the city instead of acting as if he's just a spectator in a grand drama. He's the mayor of New York, as he certainly knows and often says. So why not use that opportunity to talk about something to help the city? The Biden policies, let's not forget, the Biden policies are what got the president in his weak positions to start with. It's not like he was leading Donald Trump by 10 points and then suddenly he screwed up at the debate. He was demanding the debate because he was behind in the polls, because largely of his policies, such as the border, such as inflation, such as the global turmoil we're witnessing. So for Adams to take a pass on the opportunity to remind people of what New York, even if you just want to do it from the perspective of rattling the tin cup, and showing that the city is dealing with this burden, but not to mention it, not to say anything about the city. This is, again, Sid, I don't have to tell you, he disappoints so often that you kind of crave a moment where he delivers. But it's always elusive. It's never quite there. It's never quite the whole way. It's always this around the edge, circling the drain, but never going down the drain. It's frustrating to hear him.
It really is. So in the final 60 seconds, the pro-Palestinian stuff has calmed down quite a bit. Why is that? There's no school. Right. So, right. So I was telling somebody today, it ain't over. Wait till school starts again in September. They're going to do the same exact thing they did in May. Every one of these campuses will be infested with these animals. I promise you that's the case. So what about taking off the masks? Remember that? Governor Hochul, Eric Adams. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know this. It wouldn't surprise me if Hochul and her husband made a couple of bucks on those masks. I don't know. But what happened to that, Mike? That seemed to go away.
Yeah, that was one of those things, right, that you could wear a mask on the street and the cops couldn't identify you. And so, therefore, you could do all kinds of things, and unless they arrested you on the spot, which they tend not to do because Alvin Bragg and the other prosecutors are going to let you go for the most part. That Columbia incident where Bragg, all those people who were trespassing, barricaded themselves in a building, broke furniture, no charges. And we still don't know what the universities are doing. Are they expelling those students? They said they were in some cases, but that also dropped off the map. because the school, as you say, the school's ended. So you're right. We're going to have this problem in the fall, especially if the Israeli situation in Gaza has not been completed, which it seems less and less likely. There may be some kind of a truce, but the issue itself is not going to go away, certainly with Hezbollah in the north.
No, you're 100% right. By the way, Harvard today decided to unsuspend, if that's a word, 5 of their protesters. So it's still out there. The stories are still out there. Anti-Semitism. Harvard today said 5 of those kids, you're no longer suspended. Hey, Mike, I know I made you wait a couple of minutes here, but it was well worth it for me. Another amazing appearance. Thank you so much, pal.
Always a pleasure, Sid.
Mine too. Michael Goodwin, what a great writer and a great radio guest. I mean, he's great. Read his stuff every day in the New York Post. Michael Goodwin. We're done, Louis. That's it. We are done.
Done.
That's it. We got a big show coming up tomorrow. I head to Milwaukee on Saturday. 5 days of live coverage from the RNC in Milwaukee starting Monday. You're not going to want to miss it. From my dear friend Lou Ruffino, who was brilliant today, Justin Ellick, Noam Layden, everybody else. Have yourselves a safe Thursday. God willing, as Gene say, we'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 for a Friday show. Until then, peace.
Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be this hard. Oh, take me back to the start.
Hi, it's Lou Dobbs for Priority Gold, America's precious metals dealer. These are volatile times with high inflation, soaring debt, wars on multiple continents, and rising financial stress. Central banks are buying gold to diversify their reserves, so are many Americans. Call Priority Gold and find out how precious metals can help you diversify your portfolio. They're highly rated and happy to help. Call 1-866-303-6357 or get a free gold guide at PriorityGoldGuide.com. That's PriorityGoldGuide.com.